You are listening to Lorehammer, Episode 14, Cicatrix Maledictum, The Great Rift.
Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Hey there.
That was Mark, I guess.
What's up, folks?
And then joining us today, one more time.
I got an intro, but Jordan didn't. You told them this was Mark, but then Jordan...
Your voice is not nearly as recognizable as Jordan's sweet, sultry tones.
Yeah, but he rarely talks, so it's like, I'm always rambling.
That's why it's a gift every time he does.
Oh, okay.
For the people.
I grace their ears.
The peasants out there.
Oh, okay. I see how it is.
Joining us for the last time is Christian.
And this time for real. Last time.
Yeah. No, he begged and whined. It was crying and there was
He gave me
snot.
$50 even, so that was nice.
Wait, I didn't get any money.
I was supposed to share it with you, and it was actually only $5.
I drew a 0 on the next to the 5.
Tricked him. But today is actually it's the culmination kind of everything we've been working towards for the past several months. Really, this is kind of the home stretch for us.
That doesn't mean that we're done or anything.
It doesn't?
No, you made it sound like we're done after this episode.
I thought this is all my contract was for this one.
Hey, Eric, I got $50 for you.
It's a Chuck E. Cheese coupon.
It'll last until the sexual harassment complaints start rolling. Then we're done.
I've already filed a bunch against Eric, though, and...
I'm also the HR department, so that's why. I have a special filing cabinet for everything from Mark. It's called the garbage can. But this is our State of the Galaxy episode. It's where we're going to discuss where everything has led up to this point, kind of current lore with GW and what they're pressing forwards. They're releasing a lot of new content, obviously with 8th coming out. And since so much is changing, we are kind of having our fingers in everything in this episode.
Yeah.
Every single race we're going to try and touch on as much as our knowledge allows.
Or as much as is needed. Some things happen to some races, but it's like not even relevant.
Wow, like what? Who isn't relevant? How do you get to decide?
So
that?
remember, like, I think it was our 3rd episode, our Ork episode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is the Orks, and they were the same back then, and they're the same today. So basically, they're still the same.
No, they've
exact same.
changed. No, there's
they're
some
still
serious
character
updates.
development.
Yeah,
They've discovered a new color.
What does it do?
Gold, and you know what it's good for?
What is it good for?
I don't know. I can't think of it.
I was trying to think of something too, but all I could think of was
I
goes
know.
fast. That's already there.
But yeah, so like, there's no need to talk about Orks.
Good
you
call.
know?
Orks are just Orks.
They're just Orks.
Frickin'
And we
Daka-Daka.
love them that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they ever changed, that would be the issue.
That would be bad.
Yeah. Our last episode was Tyranids.
Yeah.
And I have on my notes here that there aren't any updates, but I'm going to need you to quiet for 1 second, Mark.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to need an apology in a second.
Another apology from me?
Yes. Prefer, if you want to write it out, we can wait till the next episode. But when we were talking about the different hive fleets, you specified that Hive Fleet Hydra was not a hive fleet, and it was a splinter fleet.
Oh, shit.
There are actually 5 new hive fleets that have been set apart. I just read the Tyranid Codex as well as reading the main rule book. I just want you to know that fuck you. There's a lot more out there.
Okay, so let me rephrase it. There's 3 major hive fleets, then there's a bunch of minor, and then there's also splinter fleets on top
Games
of all
Workshop does not denote the difference.
No, I'm serious.
Between major and minor.
No, I'm serious.
They
the
just
major
list
are
hive
Behemoth,
fleets.
Kraken, and Leviathan. Those are major hive fleets.
I
then
agree.
There's also minors, and then there's also splinters.
I agree on the map. They are very large. And they're the first ones in. But Games Workshop doesn't say there's major
I am writing
and minor.
no apology. Yeah, no, they do. Seriously.
Well, you can show me that later.
Okay.
Okay. So I know that we've been talking past couple episodes about how we're looking at adding new segments or changing things. And this week we're going to do one called Gets Hot. You can see a theme in the titles of our segments.
What theme?
Rapid fire.
Okay.
Gets hot.
I don't get it.
Are all weapon things?
No,
Like,
in 8th edition.
But
There is no gets hot in 8th edition.
really? Plasma weapons don't get hot?
Lots don't anymore, no. Some do.
So it's still there.
Sure. They don't call it gets hot, though.
What do they call it?
I don't know. Rules.
Explosion. Plasma explosion.
Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm just being a dick. I'm
All
just,
right.
just being a
So
dickhead.
we're going to do Gets Hot. And Gets Hot is I'm going to ask someone what gets them hot about Warhammer. What makes them start taking their clothes off and want to, titillate themselves with bits. So, Christian.
This is how we get a Harvey Weinstein situation, okay?
And I've just opened Jordan's file with HR. Great. It's right next to this clearly non-garbage can. Christian, what gets you hot about Warhammer 40K?
So just to clarify, this is gets hot in a good way.
Or bad. It could be
Can it make
either.
me angry?
I don't know. Sometimes
I have a propensity to get
Sometimes you
angry.
fire your plasma gun, it gets
And-
hot,
and it blows up
explodes
in your face.
Sometimes it gets hot and it explodes all over their face.
Exactly. So it could be either way.
Tell me about a time it exploded in their face.
In their face.
Wait, is that a good or a bad thing?
That's a good thing for you.
I like exploding in my face, though.
Christian.
Wait, what are we talking about?
Something that gets Christian hot.
Space Marines. Everything about Space Marines.
Everything
Space
about-
single
What about the fact that Space Marines have no penis?
troll.
That's even
He's
better.
a fucking troll.
Everything about Space Marines, hey? What's your favorite thing about Space Marines? What sets them apart the most?
Like if you compare them to any other galaxies, like super soldier. I've always been into like super soldiers. So like any
It's because he himself could never be a good soldier.
You always try
So-
to be role play something that you're not.
I emulate
Yeah.
something better.
Yeah. Sure.
So they're like just the pinnacle. Like if you compare a Space Marine to any other super soldier from almost any other source of fiction, they just get stomped by Space Marines. I can't think of any like
Of course you can.
traditional military or like science fiction military.
Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not even super soldiers.
Jedi.
Though, so.
No. I mean, you have librarians.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
He caught me there.
Exactly. So just Space Marines are the first thing that got me into the lore.
Superman.
And there always be.
What about
It's not a super soldier.
what about an army of Kryptonians who all grew up on Earth?
Okay. Maybe.
Maybe
They would just make bolt guns with kryptonite shells in them and just
They would.
annihilate them.
Yep.
Yep, Mark. You want to continue this conversation?
No, because
Crossovers?
kryptonite is super common apparently. Because anytime Superman shows up, his
Well,
only weakness is
There always
It's
happens
called-
to be
there always
kryptonite
happens to be
nearby.
Called
kryptonite.
a coincidence.
Well, you just load those coincidences into a bolt gun and fire them at the enemy.
Yeah, Space Marines are a pretty good reason to get hot, though.
Yeah. Everything about them, I just love them.
Yeah. If you could.
Marry one?
Yeah. Like, since you love them so much.
bang, fuck, kill, Space Marine.
Who was it?
Abaddon, Dante, and
Kaldor.
of course, yeah.
Mary
Mary Kaldor, yeah.
Mary Kaldor.
Because he's always gone and you don't have to deal
Yeah,
with him.
exactly.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's the best kind of spouse.
Yeah.
So that's the one guy that's not married.
I agree.
Kill. Who'd you kill?
Abaddon.
And you'd sleep with Dante.
Oh, yeah. He's got all the experience in the galaxy.
1,600 years of sexual experience.
Technically, Abaddon would be older. And he's probably seen way more.
During his time gaining Slanish's favor.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So
So that's a great segment there of talking about what
Speaking
gets
of
us off.
Abaddon, actually, yeah, let's get right into our main topic for today, which is, it is our main topic, but our first section is previously on 40K. You guys, obviously, like it's an allusion to Supernatural, right? You know Supernatural. You know in like a preview.
Never
No?
watched it. I don't know anything.
Oh
about
my gosh.
Well, lots of shows are like
Is that the show with the
Don't-
two gay guys?
don't even. They're brothers, okay?
No,
Okay, A, they're brothers, and B, they like save the world like
They're
6
brother
times.
lovers, is what.
brother lovers.
Wow.
Mother boy.
Previously on 40K, we are going to briefly touch the 13th Black Crusade. So the 13th is, I know when we covered Chaos Marines, we talked about like 1 to 12. Not really, but we kind of did. But not
We mentioned
really.
there was 12.
Yeah, we're like, there's 12. They go 1 through 12, and that's about it.
Let me sum it up for you. So they attack Cadia,
12 times.
and then they attack Cadia again.
Yeah.
So on and so
What
forth.
happens the next one? Yeah. So on the 13th Crusade, Mark, why don't you tell us what they do?
They attack Cadia.
No way.
But this time for real. The other times they were just joking.
They were just playtesting. Well, Abaddon does attack Cadia, but he also attacks a bunch of other planets within like the Cadian system as well.
And almost even, I'm not going to say galaxy-wide, but like
It is a very large
around the
crusade.
Eye of Terra. Or Terror birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and the reason is because there's a lot of pylons on these like alien structures, right? But they're Necron pylons, right? Correct.
Yeah, it's pretty well implied that they're Necron
Yeah.
pylons.
Yeah, I don't know if they've ever come out and say it,
Yeah.
but they definitely like they're alien structures
Yeah,
that
there's enough evidence.
they
to
glow
say-
green.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they've been there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And they're found on all these planets surrounding the eye.
right, yeah.
I think they're even like galaxy-wide.
No, They
yeah,
are.
They are.
They
like
are.
you find them everywhere, but more specifically
Yes,
around the eye.
yes,
Which
yes.
is odd because they are way before the Eye of Terror.
Well, that's why I stated galaxy-wide. It just happens
Yeah.
that like...
They were there. Yeah. I brought this up with Mark a while back on like the timeline. Is like, yeah, why would they build it before there was a problem preemptively?
yeah, well, the thing is,
but
like,
it's not. It just they built them
Yeah,
galaxy-wide.
they're everywhere.
well, the whole
as a
purpose of them
measure.
was to
Yeah.
cut off the regular world
Yeah, so
from the warp
it's
itself.
essentially like my blank theory where you put one blank every...
they
I
Like,
hate you so much.
it's like that, just with pylons, where they just pylon the entire galaxy. And the purpose of these pylons was to stop the warp from bleeding into reality.
Never worked. They couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
But it would have been like the ultimate blow against the Eldar. And this is back in the War on Heaven. I don't know if we said that. It's Necron stuff, right? So
Yeah.
like millions and millions of years ago.
Yeah.
But he attacks Cadia, and the planet gets destroyed by when these pylons overload. And you said it's Trazyn who does that?
I think he has something to do with it. I'm pretty sure he does overload it, or lets the Imperium know how to overload it.
Oh, so now
Or-
now Necrons are working with humans.
Well, they've worked with Blood Angels
Freaking
before.
great.
It's a really deep, complex storytelling fabric that's interweaved with all the races.
I think everyone's just turning into friends now. That's what's going on.
Friend Hammer.
Yeah, like there's obviously a lot more stuff that happens during the 13th Black Crusade, but
Like-
essentially Cadia gets destroyed, and Abaddon actually ends up destroying a bunch of these pylons around the Eye of Terror and on Cadia itself. And what happens when he does this is the Eye of Terror starts to expand out into the galaxy.
Yeah, and so it creates this rift, and really it's like while there was like an area of the galaxy that was like covered in like warp, like an overlap, now there's like a massive portion of the galaxy, and it kind of like separates the galaxy in half. It like stretches from one corner.
Yeah, it stretches
other.
like from the galactic northwest to the galactic southeast.
Yeah. And it's called the Cicatrix Maledictum.
The Great Rift, the Crimson Path,
Gork's Grin.
Gork's Grin, or is it Mork's Grin?
No, it's Gork. I'll fight you over this.
But yeah, like it just rips the galaxy in half, which is pretty crazy, really.
You know how often we say like, that's pretty sweet.
Pretty fucking
That's pretty awesome.
pretty sweet. I would love to see that happen.
But that is like currently where we stand in the galaxy is there's like a rent, a hole that is super brutal to try and pass through.
Yeah.
But it's
Like if I was to take away anything from 8th edition, it's that. Like that's the big thing in my mind, because it affects every race, and it literally changes the galaxy, the fabric of the universe, or the fabric of the galaxy. Like, yeah, sure, there's Primarchs coming back, and that's great, but they're only on one planet at a time. And we'll get into them. We'll talk a bit about like their role in all this, but it's really the Great Rift that rips the galaxy in half.
yeah. And this is where like the plot is being driven because of this great rift. Like
Yeah, I
all
love
these
the Great
races are
Rift.
making like changes in terms of like their goals or what they're doing or allies or who their enemies are, because the galaxy now has changed. Whereas
Yeah.
before you kind of had the stalemate version of all of these galaxies are just vying for their own personal reasons. But
Yeah.
now, as it stands, everything has changed. So their game is changing as well.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our setting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of the races within. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm getting over a sickness and it's no good.
Yeah, I was worried about you.
Yeah.
Deeply worried.
Okay. I'm just going to do a quick touch on the arm right there.
And there's another sexual harassment.
There's another garbage wad for the garbage can.
I'll fill that up eventually, and you'll have to read it.
Mark, you can't write.
Caught me.
They're just pictures.
It's
Where did
Charlie.
he touch you?
Yeah, that's a penis.
Okay, let's start with the Imperium as the Imperium stands. And the first thing I have written here is the rise of a Primarch.
Yeah, so during the whole 13 Black Crusades, events happen where...
You're really glossing over the details.
I know,
I get it. I know. We don't have to say it again.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this later.
Yeah, like I
No,
like
no,
they-
I'm not saying that.
I'm not
about
going to
this
say
episode.
that we're going to come back to this and talk about it in depth. But
I'm sure we will eventually, but right now we don't have to.
Yeah,
Events transpire where like the Eldar.
and let's talk about this more in the Eldar. But
Sure.
Gilliman is resurrected. He comes back
due to sorceress magic
Yeah,
from the Eldar.
seriously.
and science, sorcery and science.
You can't. No,
Where sorcery and science begin. No, where
Call.
science and sorcery begins.
no,
Wait,
it's
no.
all science
Is sorcery.
and sorcery.
They're the same thing, Eric.
No, they're not.
They're exactly the same thing.
Where does feelings come into this?
They get smushed at the bottom. Your feelings don't matter.
Oh,
But yeah, Roboute is resurrected through fell magics and science.
Yeah, and in case you didn't know, Roboute Gilliman is the Primarch of the Ultramarines. So, the most powerful legion or chapter. You give me that look, but it's like they themselves
they
are
were,
not.
they were the poster boys
Yeah,
of the
and like
Imperium.
they have so many successor chapters.
Yeah, they
That, like-
outnumber, like just on numbers alone. If all things are equal, like they would win just on
actually,
numbers.
the Black Templar would have way more numbers than the
Not if you
Ultramarine
include all the
Legion.
Ultramarine,
Oh, I thought you were just doing chapter
successors.
to chapter.
No.
No, successors too. Like,
Yeah, because like all these successors do have great ties to the Ultramarines.
Yeah.
Unlike a lot of other
because
chapters.
because of like the Ultramar
Yeah.
system.
And
Yeah.
like for the record, we're not like Ultramarines fanboys. It's just a matter
It's a
of fact.
reality.
Yeah, exactly. Just
yeah, regardless of whether like you hate them or not, like they follow the Codex the most.
Lies, actually.
Who
It's
follows it better?
Imperial Fistwood. You want to know why?
Why?
You ever heard of tyrannic war veterans of the Ultramarines, which are not a codex organization?
No.
Zing.
I want nothing to do with them.
Yeah, there's a fun fact for you.
Tyrannic war veterans from Tyrann?
No, from Battle of McCraig.
We'll get
Well,
into those in
yeah.
episode 29.
Oh, write that down, somebody.
January.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, but you're right. They are branded as like the Codex chapter. But anywho,
Yeah.
So Roboute Gilliman is their leader. He's one of the Emperor's quote unquote sons, or what do you call it? Bunny ears? I don't know. What are the things?
yeah, air quotes.
Air quotes. Yeah.
Bunny ears.
I don't know. They go flopping. They flop around. I don't know.
They emphasize the point.
And yeah, so he ends up taking charge of the Imperium.
And he's super pissed.
Yeah. Do you got that quote, Christian? No, you're busy texting.
Who is texting you?
Everyone I know is here.
I am. God, I hate this Eric guy. He's always
He's
sexually
always
harassing me.
talking.
But the Emperor, Roboute Gilliman goes and he makes like a pilgrimage to Terra to visit the Emperor.
You don't want to know what's funny?
What?
Like a pilgrimage was used like back in the day. It would be like, oh, you like humble yourself and like you walk, right, and you journey. Like he's not walking.
It's funny that you say though that he does like he humbles himself and it's like this like arduous task.
Yeah.
And it is for him to go there.
Why?
Like so each of the Chaos Gods when he gets resurrected.
Oh, is this when
they all-
Nurgle is going nuts on his home planet?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like there's a
okay.
bunch of like minor things in the background where like Nurgle is like infecting citizens and
Minor
Roboute-
things, he says.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Mortarion is
in,
like
in the grand
unleashing-
scheme of things, they're minor. But like Mortarion, or not Mortarion, but like Nurgle is like infecting people, and whenever Roboute Gilliman gets close to him, they get cured.
That
and then
is-
when he
that is
leaves,
one of Mortarion's.
okay, sure.
Yeah. A Mortarion is unleashing the plague on the system.
Okay.
And then, because he wants Roboute to challenge him.
Okay.
Right, and then
I thought that was later, but okay.
Roboute is refusing to come back because he's like, because before he like got trapped in his own sector, like worrying about his own things without worrying about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And now he's like, no, I'm not going to make that same mistake twice.
But yeah, so he is.
So
tempted,
it is tough for him,
and he's
all right.
he's tempted by Slaanesh, and just to even get to Terra, it's not like just one quick warp jump. Like he takes this huge fleet. And like throughout the process, they keep like getting ambushed by people, and like the fleet's slowly dwindling. At one point, they get captured by one of the Traitor Legions. I'm trying to think.
Chaos.
One of the Traitor Legions
Chaos.
trap him, and like they have to do this whole jailbreak, so they lose even more members, and like it's this whole big thing that happens.
All right.
So like it's not like he just does one warp dump. Like it's a whole big thing that he has to do.
It's like a quest.
He even fights a couple of his brothers. Like he fights Magnus on this journey, and yeah, it's pretty wild.
Okay, so he makes it to Terra.
Yeah, and they do the classic Games Workshop thing where they enter the throne room and the doors close, and he comes back out a day later, type thing. And yeah. And then he knows what he has to do. So he kind of like reorganizes the Imperium a little bit. Like he kicks out some High Lords, reestablishes others, tries to get things working in motion. And then he calls upon like his Great Crusade, a new Great Crusade, essentially. What do they call it?
The Indomitus. Yeah, Indomitus Crusade.
Yeah. And in order to help him on the Indomitus Crusade, we'll jump back in time a little bit and introduce a character called Call.
Belisarius Call.
Belisarius Call, the Archmagos, I believe. Is he an Archmagos?
I don't know what his official title is, but he's pretty high up within the ranks of the Mechanicum.
And he's the worst.
We'll get into opinions later.
I know. Okay, fine. I just have to say
He creates an even better soldier than a Space Marine.
Heresy!
Well, except he does.
Oh, okay. Well, I take the heresy back then. Wait, does Roboute Gilliman approve?
Yes.
Okay.
You might argue that he asked him to do it.
Yeah, so during the Fall Acadia, the 13th Black Crusade, Call actually discovers that that Abaddon is destroying these pylons, and he figures out what the pylons are actually for, and he tries to like stop it. I think he and Trazan are the ones who like overload the pylons to like they think it's going to stop the warp, and it does for a second, but then it gets overloaded. And
then it shoots a beam into the Eye of Terror, and it begins to recede and shrink, and like all warp influence like ceases on Cadia. But then it backfires and explodes, and then it just expands and then tears across the galaxy.
So then he gets in contact with the Eldar, and we'll get into them again, and he goes on a pilgrimage to resurrect Roboute Gilliman.
Everyone's going on pilgrimages.
But he did it first. He did it before Roboute Gilliman did. Yeah, so he has a crazy part to play in resurrecting Roboute Gilliman. He goes there, he makes him a suit of armor, and he hands him life.
He's like a science component behind the resurrection. Yeah. And apparently he was tasked with making the suit of armor before.
Yeah.
Like way in the past. We're talking like thousands of years before Gulliman even was put into stasis.
Weird.
Yeah, which is, I'll give my opinions later, but
yeah, I know.
Gulliman instructs Belisarius Call with two things. He asks Call to begin working on a project to make super soldiers.
Perfect.
Primaris Marines.
And when did he do this?
Way like before this, or during the Scouring, or like before the
essentially,
Primarchs disappeared.
Yeah, a couple hundred years after the Horus Heresy.
Yeah, so we're talking thousands of years in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, so like you said, Roboute Gilliman instructed Call to make these super soldiers, and then also he did the suit of armor.
Yeah,
he wanted that suit of armor.
Time, yeah.
Right. And then, unfortunately, Gilliman, he got knocked out, put into stasis, and none of these things came to happen.
So what happened with the Primaris Marines is Call did not want to come forward and be like, look at all these new super soldiers, because he would
it's
a heretical act.
Heresy.
Yeah, like it honestly is like a heretical act, what he did.
Yeah, you can't alter something that the Emperor already created perfectly.
Yeah.
But he does
perfectly.
That look, Eric.
Yeah. So he plays a big part. So during the Indomitus Crusade, after Roboute Gilliman's woken up, Call meets him, and they go to Terra together, and they get all these super Astartes, which they're called Primaris Marines, because they're the primary defense against chaos.
Really?
I don't know. I thought Faith was, but apparently.
Apparently, I was wrong.
Isn't it a simple mind?
Yeah, and they go on the Indominus Crusade. So they resurrect or they awaken like thousands and thousands of these Primaris Marines, and it's I forget what founding it is, like what number, like the 21st founding or whatever. But they end up founding a bunch of Space Marine chapters, and as they go on through the Crusade, the galaxy has been ripped in half, so chaos is flooding out of the Great Rift. So a bunch of the chapters are being like pushed back and stuff. And as Rabuq Gilliman and all these Primaris Marines are advancing, they're reinforcing all these other chapters with Primaris Marines as they push into the galaxy and like try to retake it all.
Yeah, so essentially they're reclaiming like lost ground, and it's not just chaos. I mean, like other alien races see the Imperium on the back foot.
Yeah,
with everything that's going on, and so suddenly they like jump in and take advantage of a crippled
when you're
Imperium.
fighting a war on 30 fronts.
Yeah, exactly. They're all going to take their piece too, right?
Yeah.
And even like you have successionists, like human worlds that are like, oh, now's our chance to break away. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So Gulliman is trying to re-establish the Imperium, reestablish order, and reinforce like all these Space Marine chapters that have suffered heavy casualties from the fighting, or like, yeah.
yeah. And eventually they succeed, and then Rabuq Gilliman can finally go back to Ultramar and fight Mortarion, because Mortarion's are messing up Ultramar and the 500 worlds and whatever.
Yeah, he's laying some smackdown on those people.
Yeah, so that's kind of the Imperium, very, very roughly. We got the heretic Belisarius Call, and he does a bunch of heretical technology, makes Primaris Marines, he creates better bolt guns, he
That
creates
guy.
floating Land Raider Rhino Redeemer things.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
the super heavy tanks.
he's fucked.
Atreus or Atriuc or
I can't read.
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
But it looks weird.
Yeah, and so there's him, and then there's also Rabuq Gilliman, who is now like the functioning figurehead of the
Do you
Imperium.
have that quote from
Yeah.
Root?
So just for a little bit of setup, I know we've mentioned it before, but the Imperium of 40K is not the Imperium of 30K. Like we've said that a lot of times, and this really drives that point home.
Yeah.
So Gulliman was wounded and gets put into stasis when the Imperium still looked like a semblance of what the Emperor had envisioned.
Yeah,
it
where
wasn't
it's like,
perfect, but you know,
where they believe in science and like everything's working properly, and yeah.
Yeah, so this quote like really outlines like for him to wake up into this like ultra religious, like fanatical Imperium that's like abandoned all the values that the Great Crusade upheld. Yeah, it just gives a good insight into his mindset. So I'm just gonna read the quote. What more do you want from me? I gave everything I had to you, to them. Look what they've made of our dream. This bloated, rotting carcass of an empire is driven not by reason and hope, but by fear, hate, and ignorance. Better that we had all burned in the fires of Horus's ambition than lived to see this.
That's such a sweet quote.
Yeah,
And it really, does sum up like the difference between like
30K and 40K.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like it gives like Gulliman is trying to do his best to make the Imperium work, even though it's such a broken shadow of what it used to be.
And there's cool plot points too, where like Rabuq Gilliman and the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy come to like an understanding where like Rabuq Gilliman's like, I do not believe that the Emperor's a god, and like the Ecclesiarchy's like, well, he is, and they kind of come to this agreement where it's like, well, we got to work together. You guys can kind of do that, but
Yeah, so
I
like
will
humanity is too far at risk at this stage. Like things
to
are
take
way
that away
yeah
from
to
them.
have to risk a civil war and to pretty much gut like the faith behind what kind of kept the Imperium together, right?
Yeah,
So
it's kind of a neat.
yeah,
cool,
yeah, they're like forced to work together even though
Yeah.
they don't really see eye to eye.
Yeah. So the Imperium eventually kind of, I wouldn't say regains, but kind of stabilizes a little bit with Rabuq Gilliman emerging.
So what would be the Dark Imperium in all of that?
So it kind of is a reference to the other half. So a lot of like the progress is made on the side of the Imperium, on the southern half where Terra is of the Great Warp Rift. So the Dark Imperium refers to the northern half of the Empire that's cut off, and they can no longer see the light from the Astronomicon.
Yeah, and that's where that name comes
Yeah,
from.
Dark Imperium.
Yeah.
So there is progress made. Like I know the planet Baal is on the other side, and Guilliman does reach there.
Yeah.
Baal being
The homeworld of the Blood Angels. Yeah. So it has a significant role in like the history of the Imperium and stuff like that. But it's still it's not as stable as the southern Terran side of the Empire. So there's still like the border regions, I guess you could say, of it are still not stabilized, but Guilliman's trying to reestablish, a semblance of an empire.
Yeah. Do they have a name for the southern side?
I've never read anything, but it's
the
possible.
Imperium?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it must just be that, but
Yeah.
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 Do they call it the Dark Imperium?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just like
In High Gothic, it's Imperium Nihilus, which I think is pretty cool. And the Low Gothic would be Dark Imperium, yeah.
that's cool.
Well, I think that's pretty close to summing up humanity.
Yeah, and there's stuff that happens.
Yeah, there's more
there's-
detail.
Yeah,
but
yeah. But that's like where they're at is they have their Imperium and then they have their Dark Imperium, right? They have their one side, they're trying to just get back in balance and they're trying to be like Reboot is learning what it takes to steer the Imperium.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have the Dark Imperium who's just kind of a separate entity as at this point.
And apparently the Dark Imperium's led by
so Guilliman anoints Dante, who's the chapter master of the Blood Angels from Baal.
the one that Christian wants to bang.
Right, yeah, that's right.
He gets I forget what his title is, but he's pretty much like the warden of the dark side of the Imperium.
The dark side.
Which
Yeah.
is sweet because it's cool that that's a title for him. Or
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a role that is filled by
So
him.
he takes like a greater responsibility than his chapter ever.
Yeah, because
normally would.
I don't know how much of the day to day he does, or how much like obviously he's not doing the day to day, but I wonder if he could if he wanted to, which is very different than before the Rift happened. Because before the Rift happened, the High Lords of Terror, they governed everything, right? Planetary lords governed everything. Where now it's like they're putting a military rule behind their empire once again, as opposed to a bunch of seats on a council.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is because I don't think
details are a little vague on how he actually governs, but that's a good angle I didn't even think about, which a big part of the Horus Heresy was, Space Marines feeling like they were doing all the fighting and then getting pushed out by civilians who didn't know anything about what it took to
But now
govern.
here, because Reboot Guilliman could have appointed anyone on that side of the galaxy, but he chose a Space Marine to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Not even a Primaris Marine. What a joke.
what a jokester. There's a couple Marines that, we'll get into the Primaris later, that are good enough to be still good. But
Yeah, of course. Because they have their plot armor super thick.
A couple. Super thick plot armor.
Yeah. So let's go to what's kind of happening with Chaos as of this point.
So Chaos, the biggest thing that they get out of this is before they were limited to raiding the galaxy. So all of Chaos fled. You have multiple parts of Chaos. You got Chaos Space Marines. You got traitors, humans, and you also got demons. Everyone at the Horus Heresy basically fled into the Eye of Terror or into the Maelstrom, which is in the center of the galaxy. It's another warp rift.
Yeah, it's a smaller
or they
area.
set up their own little single
Operation.
world here and there.
But by and large, most of them went into the...
Yeah, so they only had 2 points where they could assault the Imperium from. And they were always trying to attack Cadia and get a foothold. And sure, there's always you can jump out of the warp and then jump anywhere you wanted to. But
It's not as reliable.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing about Cadia. What makes Cadia so special, they call it the Cadian Gate, which is a stable warp route in and out of the Eye of Terror. So to control it, it's like controlling a major highway in and out of real space.
Yeah.
So that's why Chaos, they're almost held prisoner in a sense. Not quite that, but they're limited from...
Every time they wanted to come out, they had to prepare for a fight.
They have to fight their way out.
Yeah.
If not, take unreliable warp jumps to who knows where and just commit an act of raiding and then quickly jump back. Right?
Yeah.
So now that they control that, they control a stable route in and out of real space. So that kind of creates a value behind Cadia.
Yeah, and the other thing is now since the Great Rift happened across the entire galaxy, Chaos can come out pretty much anywhere. They have such a wide swath of the galaxy that they can come out of now and attack things. The other big thing that Chaos has happening for them is a lot of their Primarchs are coming out more and more now. Where before there's only a couple Primarchs who came out, Angron of the World Eaters came out a couple times.
Magnus, I think, came out.
Magnus came out, yeah, attacking the Space Wolves a couple times. I guess like a couple
They had
would have
limited incursions into the Imperium.
But now it seems like they're really doing like an all-out push against the Imperium, where multiple ones are coming out. So
It does sound like a lot of that has to do with the fact that Roboot has resurrected, though.
yeah, it's like
Like, they want to fight their brother.
yeah.
And yeah, it is even written in the book there that like they take a personal interest in Reboot's resurrection, right?
Right.
So yeah, like old grudges or like a chance to maybe corrupt somebody new, stuff like that. Where
Yeah, or even just to test your metal again, because like
when you're a demon Primarch, there's not a lot in the galaxy that can really challenge you.
yeah,
And so yeah, a big part of what kept them in the warp is like
There's no point.
participating in the great game, right? Like fighting other chaos gods, and
yeah, vying for power that way.
yeah. So there's as much going on in the warp as outside of it
Yeah,
for them, anyways.
yeah. So that's a big thing that is being pushed now. We're definitely going to see
Yeah.
more and more Chaos Primarchs coming out.
I do want to say an interesting too as well is Abaddon's crusades. Each of them is given a specific purpose, where he was like all those crusades are culminating to this one point.
Yeah,
So he was like picking targets that would like weaken other pylons, or he would like collect artifacts that he needed to launch
Yeah.
this massive crusade. So he gets a lot of bad publicity for failing 12 times before this 13th time.
yeah,
But if you look at it from his perspective, he achieved the objectives he needed to, retreated,
Yeah.
and then prepared for his next assault.
yeah. And I think we also mentioned it too. It's just when he goes back into the warp, for him, only a year could have passed.
Yeah. So
For
to him,
him,
he's just like preparing for a
but-
counter assault.
Yeah,
Like
but then he comes back out and it's like, oh shit, 1,000 years went by. And
Yeah.
that's why it took him so long to do it.
yeah, like to him, the crusade never really ended. Like
Right.
he's
Yeah.
just
Been
coming
fighting
back and forth.
nonstop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or close enough to nonstop that like it all seems like one long campaign, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of like alleviates some of the bad credit that Abaddon gets.
Yeah. One thing that makes me sad is characters like Abaddon, what's the Calgar, Marinius Calgar. These chapter masters are important leaders who were once like the most powerful people in the galaxy or the most influential. Now when the Primarchs come back, so like Marinius Calgar was a chapter master of the Ultramarines, but then when Reboot Gilliman gets back, it's like,
He has
Well,
to take that step. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, well, Calgar,
It was good knowing.
yeah, like go back to the front line.
fun while it lasted.
Like same with like Abaddon. Abaddon's still pretty powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean,
But-
compared to someone like Mortarion or Magnus, right? We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what.
But like even Mortarius and Magnus, like Abaddon is from the Black Legion, and his guy's dead. Like
Yeah, Horus is dead, yeah.
So like the other ones won't ever have as much sway as let's say Reboot Gilliman and
yeah, it's
Calgar.
not an
But-
equivalent per se.
yeah, but
yeah.
it still is like
It kind of like shrinks his threat level to the
Yeah.
greater galaxy when you have like, oh crap, we have demon Primarchs coming out now.
yeah,
That kind of shifts your focus, right?
yeah.
I get what you're saying. for
Yeah,
sure.
Makes me sad for old Calgar and his power fists of doom.
To be fair, when Gulliman is resurrected, he actually asks Calgar for permission
Yeah,
to
yeah, he
take
does.
control of the chapter.
Well, because
So-
Calgar or Reboot Gilliman's all about the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's a way of kind of showing honor to him too.
Yeah.
So he doesn't like he is the entitled leader of the Ultramarines, right? He could easily just like take control instantly, but he as like as much as asking, following the rules, but as much as showing him respect of like, hey, thanks for your service.
Yeah,
Thank
Thanks
you
for your cervix.
Thank you for your service. He asks Calgar permission to take control of the chapter, which obviously Calgar is not going to deny him, right?
Yeah.
Right.
He's just in awe as well as anybody else is of his own Primarch. So
yeah,
but I found that interesting.
yeah. It was kind of a neat point. So that's kind of chaos. Like now they have the ability to siege the Imperium from the entire galaxy, really, like anywhere in
Yeah,
the
it
center
really
of the
steps
galaxy.
up the threat level.
Yeah,
The next thing we're going to talk about is the Eldar race. And I guess a lot of this will, part of this will step forward into the Reboot Gilliman being resurrected arena.
yeah. So once again, we got to go back in time now to before the Great Rift happened.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Eldrad, who was kind of like more of a radical Eldar in that he was like him.
He's the oldest Eldar that we know about, and he's
Oldest craft world non-dark Eldar. Yeah.
okay. That's
I think Vect is older than him.
That's a valid point. But his foresight into the future is also super crazy.
Yeah. So he kind of like he wanted to bring about like the Eldar gods like new creation.
Yeah.
And he wanted to bring it about like now. Like
So-
he didn't want to wait.
Yeah, I don't know how much you guys touched on it on the Eldar episode, but the Eldar, they consider themselves a dying race, and their whole thing is trying to resurrect their god of death, Ynneed. So, going back to that episode with the infinity circuits and like the culmination of their souls, like when they die, to prevent them getting eaten by Slanesh, they store them in these infinity circuits, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he is trying to find a way. So an Eldar belief is that they need all Eldar to die, and it's the Gestalt consciousness of all their souls together that will create this new god. Kind of the way they created Slanesh with their over excesses, they can create their god of death with the death of their whole race. Eldrad is trying really hard to sidestep like the need for them all to die and try to resurrect the god early.
Right. So he goes to this planet called Demesnes, and he attempts to, through whatever ritual he's trying, but he attempts to awaken Ynneed like right there. But he is stopped by the Death Watch.
Yeah.
And
Which
they're-
are
Sorry,
Space
Space Marines.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Which are a Space Marine chapters.
If people don't know what Death Watch are.
Oh, yeah. He's stopped by an arm of the Inquisition.
Which is then part of the Imperium.
Right. Yeah.
Stop complicating things.
In the hierarchy. So he stopped by them. There's a couple, I read a couple different sources on this. One of them says that he actually partially succeeds, and that Ynneed's spirit is partially drawn into this reality, and then Ynneed wandered through the galaxy looking for someone, not to possess, but to become his mouthpiece.
Yeah.
And the other ones don't say anything like that at all. But it kind
Others
of
say that
he just failed.
yeah, and sometimes it even says that it was corrupted
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, give me that look.
Well, I actually, the whole, when Mark and I were actually talking about this, is when he said it was corrupted, and I actually couldn't find anything that said that.
I'm pretty sure he.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it is what it is.
For all we know, Games Workshop doesn't even know.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But what happens is he started it and he failed. And then I like to think, what makes the most sense to me is that his spirit was there, because this is where, after this is when it really picks up with Ynneed. And Yvraine is found. And Yvraine is Eldar. Christian, you know way more about her than I do.
Yeah, so she's walked many paths of both the Craft World Eldar and the Dark Eldar, and has even been in, I forget what the path is, but the Path of the Wanderer, whatever they call that, as a ranger or pirate, or one that isn't strictly conformed to Craft World's path system.
Yeah.
But she has also walked those paths. So she's been around for a long time trying out all these different aspects of the Eldar race.
Yeah.
And when we encounter her, she's in the pits of Komarog as a pit fighter, as a witch. And this is after her long history that led her there. And that's when the spirit of Ynneed finds her when she's killed, actually, in the arena. I don't want to say he possesses her, but I guess he uses her as a conduit.
Yeah.
And kind of destroys part of the city of Komarog, because I don't remember. It's been a while since you've done your Eldar episode, but Psykers aren't allowed to use their powers in Komarog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in
forbidden.
the webway, and
Yeah.
to attract any kind of warp attention in there is a bad thing for them.
Devastating.
Yeah. So by her, again, I don't know what to call it, not necessarily possession, but by her linking up with Ynneed's spirit, she, in effect, and she was, I believe it's a Farseer, she was as well. So she is has strong psychic potential. So through her death and resurrection through Ynneed, she opens up a gateway for demons to flood into Komarog. So Cormorant is essentially in a constant state of war now because now they have an opening in their once semi-safe city, safe from the warp, not safe from each other.
Yeah.
So
Now
they
they're all gonna have to work together.
no, well, kind of.
Friend hammer.
It is friend hammer. So she makes her escape from there. Now touched by Ynnead, and I'm a little sketchy on the details. Do you know how like they ultimately awaken Ynnead?
It's just a ritual. Like, okay, she's on a craft world and she sacrifices like thousands of Eldar souls in there to awaken like Ynnead, but
Right,
that's it.
Bealtan, yeah.
Yeah.
So they end up on the craft world Bealtan, and they end up sacrificing the what do you call
The spirit circuit, the infinity circuit.
Infinity Circuit, yeah. So it is a substantial number of Eldar souls, and I mean, there's a whole bit with them like fighting demons on there and such. And I believe that's where they say Ynnead is corrupted because they're fighting some Slaaneshi demons who stick their hands into the Infinity Circuit.
Oh, okay.
And like right before Ynnead is born.
Oh, okay.
And they start like hunting down some of the Eldar souls in the circuit. So they say like it's a potential. It's one of those rumors that like could be, maybe, might not.
Oh, okay.
Have infected the birth of Ynnead with Slaanesh. And obviously, like the reason these demons attack is to prevent the birth of Ynnead because Slaanesh is scared of another another Eldar god being awoken to fight, specifically what unites all these Eldar together. And this is like, she unifies like Eldar Exodites, she unifies Craftworld Eldar, she unifies, and she unifies Dark Eldar, who all have a vested interest in fighting Slaanesh, right? Yeah. They created this god, and they want to, that's the ultimate
Ynnead's
threat.
been prophesied about for like thousands. Like,
It's the
always
seventh
been-
path. The
yeah.
seventh path is like the birth of Ynnead and like the restoration of the Eldar.
So it's not hard to gather all these people because all of them already know the story of Ynnead. They already know the prophecy and like
It's more
what
just like the
happened.
time is now. Come join us.
Yeah.
And that isn't to say that all Eldar, not all, not all, Eldar are under this umbrella, but a good chunk of them are. You have craft worlders that don't trust Ynnead and don't trust Yvraine. They don't know, like, were they infected by Slaanesh? Is she who she says she is, right? Is this, warp trickery? So they kind of are standoffish. You have, Exodites who will always kind of be standoffish. And then you have Dark Eldar, particularly the homunculi. So what Ynnead does now, the whole thing with Slaanesh and why the Eldar hate Slaanesh so much is Slaanesh consumes their souls when they die, if they're not protected by Spirit Stone or Infinity Circuit. So Ynnead absorbs Eldar souls. And so instead of going to Slaanesh now, they can go to her. Or him. Sorry. Yeah. To him, her, it. To the god.
Technically, any of the reborn can do it.
Yeah, but essentially it's all feeding back into this Gestalt god, right?
So the Ynnari is like the faction of people who follow Yvraine. And they're like the Ynnari can be from any other faction, like the Exodites, you're saying.
Yeah.
And what makes them special is any of them can actually absorb souls to feed them to Ynnead instead.
Yeah, and by feed it, I guess it's less.
It's more of like a conduit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's like they're protected by becoming a part of the god versus being consumed by the god, right?
Yes.
Which is what Slaanesh would do.
Yeah, but it actually makes any of the reborn that much more coveted by Slaanesh because all of them are like treasure troves of souls for her. Yeah. So they're trying to like save their race and like birth this god, but at the same time like they're putting targets above their head because of this.
Yeah, and they kind of have to save themselves. What's up?
So the reborn, are they called that? This is, I don't know if this is true or not. To join the Ynnari, do you have to like kill yourself, just like Yvraine got killed and then is reborn?
I have no idea.
That's how they gain these powers.
You don't have to.
The only blurb I ever read, it just said like the Ynnari or the reborn.
Yeah.
Like it didn't offer anything else for me.
So the other
you guys talk.
epitaph to Ynnead is the god of death and rebirth. So if you go back to Eldar mythology, how like they could die and be reborn. Like they would reincarnate. Back when the warp was stable, and I'm talking like a millennia or more ago.
Before Slaanesh.
Yeah, before Slaanesh, before like the Chaos Gods really upended the warp. the warp was so stable that when an Eldar died, their spirit would go into the warp, and then they would be reborn again into a new body.
Oh, like the old school shamans of Earth.
Sure, yeah. But so this was common practice. So they were essentially immortal both in their soul and their body. So this is a kind of a way like Ynnid now is a god of death and rebirth. It's coming back to that. They have a chance at a second life without being destroyed by Slaanesh.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of the other thing with Ynnid and the rebirth part of it.
Yeah. Not just the god of death.
Yeah. And there are some resurrection powers, like she resurrects a prominent Eldar pirate, Prince Iriel.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, he dies, and she has the ability to resurrect people as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like a they have to thing, but it's definitely within her power capabilities for sure.
Warp magic.
Yeah. So now, sorry, going back to what I was saying with the homunculi of the Dark Eldar. So there's a faction of them as well that don't trust the Ynnari, and they are fighting actively against her as well. So while the Eldar are generally unified now under this new faction, they're not all.
Yeah.
They're still independent.
Technically, actually, like anytime like Yvrain shows up somewhere or the Ynnari like strike like a banner, like yes, we have a group of Ynnari now. Like it's said that like civil strife follows everywhere. Like it's supposed to be unifying, but it's actually polarizing the race.
That makes
because
sense.
now you have to pick a side. You either are you're
for them or against them.
Yeah, you're either part of the Ynnari and helping to bring forth Ynnid, or you're not. And what you're doing is actually opposing this faction. So while it should be a time of like
Friendhammer,
it's actually much more polarizing for them than it was before.
Yeah. So it's a give and take kind of thing with them, but that's kind of where they're at.
Yeah, so they play a part in resurrecting Reboot Gilliman as well.
Oh, yeah. So that, again, goes back into the death and rebirth aspect of Ynnid. So Irvain is present at the resurrection of Gulliman. And again, you have this whole behind closed door scenario with Call, who brings a suit of armor that acts like a life support system, but Irvain says it's not enough to bring him back to life. So essentially, what she has to do is she kills him to release his spirit, and then recapture his spirit back into his mortal shell.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Ultramarines and stuff that are present at the time think this is crazy. Like, you're not going to kill our Primarch, right? But then there's a Chaos Assault, kind of distracts everybody. So Call and
they just do it.
intervene. Yeah.
We'll jump back just a bit just to talk about how the hell you have Eldar working together with the Imperium, because that's kind of a big thing. Kind of a fucking gay thing.
Kind of a thing, yeah.
Kind of a thing. Yeah, so the Eldar, they have the ability of foresight, and they're always looking 10 steps ahead.
Or at least trying to.
Yeah, it never works out quite how they want it to. But the Eldar see that even with the Ynnari and the unitedness, they're still not powerful enough to be able to take on chaos, to be able to take on the galaxy. So they're kind of using the Imperium as a pawn. Which is, they've done that many times or whatever.
If they make this enemy strong, chaos will focus on them and leave us be.
Yeah, and they'll wipe each other out, then we can figure out from there. But that's kind of how they get into...
Yeah.
They end up rescuing Call and a couple other prominent figures from the fall of Cadia. When Cadia is about to get destroyed, the Ynnari with Yvrain open a webway portal and take
allow everyone through.
Yeah, and take a bunch of survivors.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how she gains their trust, or at least Call's trust.
There's some again going to the whole warp thing, Tigerius, who's the librarian of the Ultramarines, also says he's been having visions and things, which kind of lends credence to what Irvain is saying when she meets them.
Yeah.
So, and there is still that element of distrust, right? The Ultramarines don't, welcome to our home planet. Let's show you
come into our most holy of places.
Yeah. There's definitely an aura of distrust and and especially and they don't outright say they need to kill Gulliman. That's kind of they say it right when they're there.
Yeah.
Just, because they never would have even got that far if that's what they announced that their intent was to do. So, they kind of get some prominent Imperial figures behind them when they rescue them from Cadia. and you know the Eldar have their own objectives. They're going to use humanity to fight chaos because they don't have the capabilities of doing it just yet themselves, right? So make a buffer.
Yeah. So they resurrect Call, and then
Guilliman.
Guilliman, and then they pretty much disappear.
Yeah. Their part of the tale is told.
Yeah. So the takeaway for the Eldar and the Dark Eldar is that now there's the god you need that is being born, and that lots of Dark Eldar, all types of Eldar from any path are banding together into a faction called the Ynnari under the leadership of Yvrain, and they're just doing their thing now.
Slowly but surely resurrecting a god.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like how the avatar of Cain has an avatar, so Cain was a Eldar god of old. What is that face about?
Nothing. Keep going.
And you can craft worlds would sacrifice one of their Eldar to awaken.
Cool fact about that. So it's in the heart of every craft world is this chamber, and they send a young Eldar in there, and then after 3 or 4 days, his screams will finally end, and then the doors on the chamber will burst open in fire and lava, and will emerge is the avatar of Cain,
the god of war. So they do have an avatar for you need, which is called the
Incrane.
Incrane.
There's a lot of why.
Yeah. I need. You've already.
Now you're just saying stuff.
I feel like there's a theme.
Yeah, but Mark's right. There is an avatar where your needs power can actually have a physical manifestation. Yeah. You remember at the beginning of the episode when you said we don't have it orcs don't change at all and there's no progress on their story? You're a filthy liar.
No.
Armageddon.
This is Christian. He wanted me to add this.
Okay.
Oh, there's a big push on Armageddon. The biggest war boss ever is having trouble taking one planet. Oh, big whoop. Okay, pass.
Christian, did you want to say
When we get to an
about-
Armageddon episode, I'll dive into it.
Yeah.
But all anyone needs to know is there's a big
Orcs have gone
There's a
back
big
to
push to take
Armageddon,
one planet.
and they've been going back to Armageddon for 4
the whole thing about
campaigns now.
Ulanor, Armageddon might be their homeworld. There's something about that planet that draws the Orcs to it constantly. And
So
also
they're going back.
Also, interesting fact with Friendhammer.
Ooh.
There's a Khornate incursion onto Armageddon.
Yeah, I thought Armageddon's half demon world now because it was caught in the Great Rift.
part of the Great Rift. So I'm trying not to delve too much into the history of it, but let's just say Khorne has had a history on that planet before as well, and some major defeats.
Oh,
so
yeah, I
they're
guess
coming
they have.
back. Yeah. So they're coming back. Oh, suddenly it matters, Mark. Thank you.
No, it doesn't matter at all.
Anyways, they're
It's all
coming.
irrelevant.
They're coming
we need
back.
to go back to our Tyranid
here's
episode.
the-
Nothing matters. What's the point of it all?
Here's the relevant part, though, is the Orcs and the Imperials on the planet make a temporary alliance to fight Khorne.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yes.
Friendhammer.
Yes.
Although
It's a new era of friendship and happiness.
to be not fair, but understanding. There are orc called freebooters, and they do work for the
Yeah, they can
Imperial.
act like mercenaries.
Yeah,
Orcs don't
it's just
necessarily.
that much of them, an entire wog of orcs joining with the Imperium seems
Yeah.
just retarded. It's just like Necron joining with Blood
We'll
Angels
get
to
into
defeat
personal
Tyranids.
opinions. Okay, we'll get into personal opinions later. But the
It's
point
not
is
personal.
that it's
Everyone
happening.
should share this opinion with me, or
The point is that it's happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just good to note that. And again, if you know the history of it, I agree it's not the greatest storytelling. And if
It's
you know the
just-
history between the war boss and
for all we know, Armageddon in 2 years, Games Workshop will come out with a new Armageddon book that's going to reveal all this, and then we'll be like, oh, it all makes sense. That's awesome. They slowly built up the lore, but right now it's just kind of meh.
Yeah, it's another thing where you're like, well, I would never ever would have ever pictured that happening ever because orcs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's orcs.
Yeah, Armageddon.
Still
again.
doing their thing, doing
Yeah.
orc things,
Just Daka.
orking about.
Let's talk about the Tau.
So, the thing that I've always hated about the Tau is that
Aside from the fact that they're
filthy Japanese
hoodwinking
weeaboos-
everyone and they're lying about the greater good to everyone.
No, that's all good. That's all well and good. No, my biggest thing always with them is if you look at the galaxy map, they're just a tiny blip. They're not a galaxy player. Yet they're all hyped up to be a galaxy player, but they're not. they have no warp travel, so they're stuck in this very limited space in the galaxy.
It's absolutely tiny.
Like you were showing me, like the Imhotep Stormlords, Necron Dynasty.
Yeah, the Sotek Dynasty.
Sotek Dynasty
Yeah.
is like, I don't know, what would you say, 4 or 5 times bigger?
Try closer to like 10.
10 times bigger than the Tau Empire, and this is just
Yeah.
one Necron Dynasty.
That's
like,
just, yeah, it
is the biggest
the
one.
largest,
but that's still just one.
it's just one.
And so it's just like, okay, so what?
What
big
good
whoop.
is the Tau?
Yeah, big whoop.
Yeah.
Oh, Tau. Ooh. But now, what has happened is the Tau were just about to launch their 4th sphere expansion. So they had a bunch of their ships gathered in one spot, and boom, the Great Rift happens and sucks that entire fleet into the Great Rift. As of right now, it's not stated what has happened to them. But like lots of people are thinking they did this because this gives Tau a way to go across the entire galaxy, where this sphere of expansion has now spread to maybe the north, and now maybe there's an empire in the north that is being set up.
And the interesting thing about the Tau is that like they will replenish themselves through the assimilation of other races into the greater good.
Yeah,
Right? Like they will bolster their own war forces
yeah.
as they spread through
So
the
now
galaxy.
maybe they come across a crazy race in the north that now joins their race.
Yeah, and they're super industrious, so that's like, you know, if they have the resources, they can make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like they're even like when it comes to numbers, like like lives, like if they lose a life in war, chances are good they're going to assimilate a whole race. So they don't have to be super worried about like that limited resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, that's not stated what has happened to that, but I guarantee you that's the whole point of it happening.
That's the direction they're
because
going with,
they don't
yeah.
say that like the fleet was destroyed.
Just say it's lost.
Yeah. And that's really all. Tau continue doing their thing in their very minor portion of the galaxy.
I mean, they like to lose things all the time. Have you ever heard of Lionel Johnson?
And that's Imperium.
I know. I'm just saying, G-Dubs loses things all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, oh shit! Like, where'd you guys put them? Like, I don't
Where
know.
did
heard
you
of
put
the
one of
two-
the most powerful figures in the galaxy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I can't wait for the Tau Codex because I really hope that they expand on that. I think I've said before, one of the major things I wish 40K changed was that the Tau became a galactic player, and that's one way that they could do it. And I really think that's a very intelligent way to do it.
It'll still be a slow-moving empire.
But I could see then like there's a bunch of
pockets
Yeah,
everywhere.
it's not
Pocket
like
empires,
a
yeah.
exactly. So I like that.
And they could pop up anywhere too, right?
Exactly.
They could suddenly appear on a
Terra.
peaceful planet and just attack, right?
Yeah.
Or boom, they're in Terra.
Right inside the
Terra.
throne room.
Yeah, exactly. Now they're behind
they're the
closed
emperor.
doors. Yeah.
Oh, and then they use their tech to repair the Golden Throne.
No, you'd need the Necron for that.
That's all.
And a little bit of you need.
You need some of this.
Wretched.
The Necron, for them, like
I wonder if there's nothing really that happens that I could tell.
like
Yeah,
they're
I just-
still on their same mission of like we need galactic supremacy. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter to them that chaos is here. Like it's just another thing for them to fight.
Yeah.
I wonder
right.
if they're pissed about their pylons.
Crazy kids broke my pylons.
You
Get off
guys-
my lawn.
Probably. I mean, that's like super old for them, right? Like I bet like the regular Necron guy doesn't even have any idea about them. Like
It's possible.
Trazyn is like 1 in a million when it comes to Necrons, right?
No Corky. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like one prominent Necron player in all the like narrative aspect of this, but yeah, they don't.
Who is that?
Trazyn.
Trazyn?
Oh, Trazyn.
Yeah, like his appearance on Cadia, like helping, humanity.
Do you know what an interesting thing about Trazyn is? That Necron, so did he interact with them in person,
with humans?
or with whoever it was that he was on Cadia with?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, chances are good it wasn't him.
Really?
Oh, he's got
Yeah.
like all those like body doubles.
Yeah, so what
Oh,
he does
really?
is he like puts him like he can transfer like a look of himself onto any Necron he wants.
Okay. Well,
So,
living
like-
metal, sure.
Yeah, so like if you like on the battlefield, it's described like if you kill Trazyn, like chances are good you'll see his form melt away.
Yeah.
And it's just a regular Necron warrior that you killed, and he's actually somewhere else on the
That's
battlefield.
cool.
Yeah.
That's very
So it might not even have been him. Ooh.
It still would have been him, but it might. It
You shut your whore mouth. Yeah,
That's
no,
a
you're
cool
right.
point. I
You're
like
right.
that actually, though.
Yeah.
I
It's
never
a,
knew that.
it's a cool thing behind Trazyn the Infinite.
Yeah, it's like he's Oh, maybe that's why they call him the Infinite.
Yeah, I couldn't think of any other reason. Like, it would have been
Interesting.
way better to do like Trazyn the Collector, right, for what
Yeah.
he does. But
Yeah.
now this makes sense.
That's cool. I didn't know that about him. Okay. Not much really changes for the Necron, I don't think.
Nah,
but,
I don't like. So until they come out with like a codex,
Yeah.
like Cesarek is still not there. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Oh, yeah, maybe something will happen with him when
He better, yeah. Like when he comes back.
Yeah.
He's back already.
Okay.
Back into
when they include
predominant
him,
lore.
yeah. When they include
When he's
him,
like-
when they give him an update into 8th, right? That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
matters. And then last but not least, we have Tyranids, and all I have here is High Fleet Hydra.
Yeah, so I think I gotta, me personally, retract some things I've said about
make
them.
an apology.
No, not
Make
an apology. Just
Apology.
from everything I read about them,
Apologize.
no, people who misled me should apologize.
Who misled you?
The
eyes.
internet.
The internet cannot be held liable for what it may have done to you.
Yeah, so High Fleet Hydra, with its like subtle releases before the codex that I just read,
Yeah. Well,
they made it sound like it was maliciously attacking other hive fleets and it was its own thing, and it was you know, you guys heard me ramble on about it.
Yeah,
oh,
like-
is it another hive fleet? Like they got to do something with, you know,
like
me being
we had a
retarded.
pretty similar idea
Yeah.
of what it was.
Yeah, because even you read it and you kind
Yeah.
of thought the same thing.
Yeah, but then like I just recently read the Tyranids Codex and I
Yeah.
chatting about it with Mark. There's a little bit of High Fleet Hydra even in the main rule book itself, and they make it not sound malicious at all.
No, like it could be like, so they are cannibalizing other
Yes.
Tyranids, but it sounds more like there's dead end Tyranid fleets out there. Like maybe this one Tyranid fleet is no longer big enough to attack a planet. It's just kind of waiting.
Or
there.
like maybe the Norn Queen died, but the warriors are still alive. Like that's useless to the fleet,
Yeah,
right?
his biomass is going to waste.
Exactly. Another thing that they do is they follow behind fleets that have had battles.
Yeah.
And they like a lost battle. So say like Kraken has a battle and they lose and they leave.
Yeah.
Like Hydra will go in.
Yeah,
and
'cause now
they'll
there's all
eat
that biomass,
Exactly.
yeah.
They'll eat all the dead bodies that are there
Yeah.
and then they'll leave.
yeah, so
It's
definitely
more of
not,
like a cleanup crew of it, if anything.
yeah, which I'm personally a fan of that. Like
Well, it's listed as they are one of the few that can like they're very good at like making new new
Bodies,
not
guns.
bodies, yeah, units, bodies, whatever. They have a very quick process for that, and they can bring actually more to bear
Yeah.
than most other fleets.
Yeah.
which was interesting to read about, and they can do it quickly.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so I kind of like that Games Workshop did clarify that, or it is possible that we just completely misread it, or the internet speculated a little too much, or however that happened.
not the first time the internet.
But
said us
I
You're
to-
just
have-
gonna blame the internet for your mistakes. I get it.
I talked to multiple people, and they all kind of got that same kind of vibe from that.
Eric is not multiple people.
No, my one other buddy.
my other personality is though.
But yeah, so I'm glad that it's been clarified that like there's not two hive minds right now.
No.
Or anything like that.
They're not warring.
No.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's more of a cleanup crew.
Read it, man. Honestly, like Christian's giving me the look, like you're wrong.
No,
but
I
honestly,
can't
like,
wait till we
it's
do video and
it's-
then we don't have to say that look, that fucking people will know the fucking look. They'll know.
No, like honestly, like reading
I'm
the
not saying.
Tyranid.
No.
Please, shut the fuck up.
See, right
I'm
now, if we had the
talking.
video, Eric's hand is hailing Hitler right now. It's outstretched, silencing Christian.
Read the codex first, because they have like a decent amount on High Fleet Hydra, and then go read. There's also a little tiny tidbit in here. That's all we know about High Fleet Hydra, and when you read it, they do not like. The only thing that you could pull away and extrapolate on is they say, it seems, though other targets are easier, it goes after other hive fleets. But the only reason it goes after other hive fleets is because they're crippled or they're defunct or they're splintered. Like, they're not going after healthy hive fleets and killing them.
Yeah. And that is, yeah.
That's the main thing.
I don't disagree with that. That's obviously what's written.
Mm-hmm.
I just disagree with your now it's going totally into speculation. So I'm not going to drag this conversation into it.
Sure.
But I just want to say if it was in your initial interpretation, there's some pretty reasonable explanations of why that would be the case. Like why it would fight and cannibalize healthy fleets. But like I said, I don't want to drag into this whole we've had this debate multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, back when we had less information, that was what I was hoping for. I wanted there to be a second hive mind out there. I wanted there to be something competing with it, But from what I've read now, like
Yeah, there's
it
nothing
just
to
seems
indicate
like
that. It's pretty par for the course. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it seems like very clear that that isn't the case. Not that it's up in the air anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've laid it as in like this is the
Yeah,
way
I
it
just
is.
wanted to say it's not. It wouldn't be crazy if it was the way you interpreted it before.
No, it wouldn't have. But now it would be.
Yeah, because it's not what's written.
Right.
Right.
Good.
Glad we agree.
Good. Are there any races that we missed, or is there anything that you guys think we missed, including?
It might warrant mentioning just kind of where the timeline is at. So 40K is M41, and where they kind of have always left it in limbo is M41999.
Yeah.
And like that's like just on the verge of becoming the 42nd millennium. It's like this kind of like doomsday hour. Like everything's kind of happening at this point. Like this was the 40K before these updates.
Yeah.
So now we've pushed the timeline around like 200 years into the future.
Yeah, that's how long like the Indominus
All these,
Crusade
the Indominus
was,
Crusade and all these events that we've really like skimmed over. That being said, there's a funny like little thing that Gulliman discovers when he's like trying to do all the bookkeeping for the Imperium. He discovers that the Imperium really sucks at keeping records and may have really screwed up their track of time and how they record years.
Yeah.
So he actually doesn't know what year they're in.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what year they're in.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I really like that actually. It's
Yeah.
a way that they can keep advancing the storyline and still be in 40K. Like,
Yeah.
Like, because
you don't have to change it,
we don't,
rebrand.
come on, it's such a dumb cop
Rebrand.
out.
it is, but like,
well,
you don't, yeah,
I like it. I mean, there's also
So
there's,
what you're
there's
saying is
canon.
humanity doesn't know what year it is because the Eldar don't know what year it is.
but the Eldar don't care because they don't, their timeline is different.
on
like,
such a
to
large
them,
scale.
The Tau don't know
Yeah,
what
like
year
a
it
single
is?
year doesn't.
Well, to the Tau, it's only year 2000.
The point is it also- it also-
like it's,
But I'm saying like you could figure out what year it is.
Not when you have all these competing documents. The point is it's a way to like smooth over also any past canon era conflicts.
yeah,
with,
because
like,
there's been a couple times.
Yeah, a couple of times where like they'll say an event happened in two different dates, or you know a date will be given and like oh those characters couldn't have been there, like they were doing this over here, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
it really just like
But if in Imperial records like it's wrong, it's because their whole calendar.
yeah, exactly.
is
The whole
wrong.
calendar is off.
Yeah.
Everything is
No,
off.
that
So you
makes
can't
sense.
trust
Yeah,
it.
I think it's awesome. Just
Yeah.
like
It's a little
Gilliman's-
comical thing
Like
that-
Gilliman comes back. What more do you want from me? He does that.
Checks the date.
What the fuck?
You couldn't even keep the dates. Yeah.
Like,
It's
it
just so
adds
good.
like a good comical thing where you're not expecting it ever in 40K.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I guess one more thing too I would kind of throw out there is the state of the Emperor. It's kind of a big
He's failing.
yeah.
linchpin. Yeah. So the Golden Throne, like it's this big like mechanical apparatus that like really was designed by the Emperor, who you know gave the instructions to one of the Primarchs, Rogel Dorn, when he was crippled after his fight with Horus. So it's like really arcane technology, like really advanced stuff that like
And what it's used for isn't even like what it was built for isn't even what it's used for now.
yeah. So initially it was built to
Amplify his beacon.
No, open a webway portal.
yeah.
Amplify his Astronomicon.
His secret project there, if you recall, the Horus
remember.
Heresy episode, yeah,
Yeah. And then it gets transformed into
transformed into like essentially a life support / like lighthouse in the Imperium.
Yeah. So the warp. It's like a
It's
sea.
like an ocean,
Oh,
and this is
my
the
God.
lighthouse. But so I mean the Imperium is super dependent on the Astronomicon and like on the Emperor being on this life support system.
And
you know,
it's
even-
like it's like the hope of the Imperium. They like see the light and they're like, "There's a god out there.
yeah,
There's a god emperor."
and the
He's-
Emperor's like he's still alive. He's still clinging.
his
clinging
light
to
is
life.
touching us all.
Yeah, you know. So he's not dead, but the Golden Throne is failing, and no one knows how to fix it.
because
One-
it's so old.
One thing to note too, don't quote me on this, but I listen to so many podcasts, I read so many different forums or whatever, so I'm not sure if somebody was saying this or how this came about, but I'm pretty sure when Reboot Gilliman visited the Emperor, the light of the Astronomicon went out for like a minute.
A fraction of a second.
Or
Yeah,
so-
like
or
it's
something
like
like that.
it blinked in and out.
Yeah. So some people speculate, Reboot Gilliman just killed the Emperor.
You know,
Like,
yeah,
there's
a loved one's on
things
life
and-
support, and you just grab that pillow and put it over their head.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
Just hold
like-
it there until they stop talking. and
Yeah.
you inherit all their wealth.
Yeah. Like
Or the Imperium, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to note, like, and they had this huge, like, Games Workshop, it has style. Like, they released, like, this one lore paragraph, and, like, it was, like, on the top, it was, like, supposed to be, like, an Inquisition note, where, like, the Inquisitor is writing to another Inquisitor. It's, like, think of, like, a formal, like, FBI letter, you know? Like, it's, like, written like that.
Like a memo or an email.
And then, like, it had a bunch of parts blacked out, and I forget the exact wording, but you can, in it, you can read that the Emperor has died, but it's been blacked out or something like that. Like,
in such a way that, like, as a reader, it kind of gives, like, they're trying to hide that information.
Yeah. So they hint towards the Emperor being dead. Who knows what will come of it? Probably nothing, which would be sweet.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of those things where you gotta leave blank. Like,
and you don't know. Like, that's why this meeting happens behind closed doors. Did the Emperor really talk to Guilliman? What did the Emperor say? Is the Emperor dead?
Yeah, like, did Reboot Guilliman go in there and, like, see his dad in the state he's in?
He's just like, screw this, I'm taking over. You know? So there's a lot left up in the air, definitely.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I forgot about that.
So that kind of
The Astronomicon blinked for a second.
Drawing
What does that
all
mean?
the Tyranids to it. False.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about sums it up. Anything else, guys?
As for lorical things, no,
Yeah.
I think that's all.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, let's go. Jordan, you have a question? Your mouth was half open. Frozen.
He's a mouth
question
breather.
on the tip of your tongue.
A filthy mouth
A
breather.
filthy mouth breather.
No.
Okay, well, in that case, let's dive right into our next portion. All right, so getting right into the Tales of the Warp. Jordan, I'm just going to ask you a quick question.
Oh dear.
What gets you hot about 40K? What makes your nipples erect?
Chafed, some would say.
What gets them bloody?
Whoa.
That doesn't happen to you guys every time they get erect?
Your nip. What?
I was born without nipples. Fun fact.
You're the next stage of human evolution.
Who needs them? I don't need them. They're gone.
All right, Jordan, what do you got for us? So, okay, a little bit of a context. Jordan said he's thinking of starting a new army, which is pretty sweet. But what would you play, Jordan?
Well, I wouldn't play Space Marines.
Good man. Good man. There's enough of them.
Steer away from humanity. That's a good call. We have too much human representation
It just seems
in
like
the game. Not enough of
outta here.
everyone else.
Yeah, it just seems like it's better to be a hipster and not do what everyone else is doing. So, no, I think some of the races I've been looking at and considering that I like, probably the two would be either the Eldar or the Necron.
Really?
Necron.
Okay. So what draws you to the Eldar?
I think I like the Eldar because in some ways it's hard to maybe they're the most wise or because they're kind of one of the oldest races.
Yeah.
And I really like the concept of like the craft worlds and stuff.
Okay.
I just like it's such a cool idea, and they seem like so much more cultured than
Than filthy human.
than any other race really. Like they really even though like the most history is probably done on like the Imperium.
Yeah.
Probably the next most would probably be the Eldar.
I would agree with that.
Like the most rich history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot there for sure.
Yeah. So and yeah, I like that they're like in some ways like a civilized race, but yeah, as much
But
as
they
you
live
can.
in a barbaric galaxy.
Right. Yeah. And that I also like the Necron in some ways for the same reason, because they don't have the culture, but they do have like the history. Like they're a very ancient race, and
they're actually probably like the Necron are a little bit older than the Eldar, but
probably
you're right. We're talking millions of years old.
Yeah. So I kind of like that they have like this sort of I don't know, mythology surrounding them. I guess like before the whole 40K universe.
And they even too have that little bit of they're above the galaxy almost vibe
Yeah.
to them, where
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't really concern themselves
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
galaxy. Yeah.
Petty things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So were these two armies anything that you would have at all considered before you started this podcast?
No. Probably like the biggest influence was just like kind of hearing more about them and sort of like the nuances to like each race kind of piqued my interest more maybe in other races. So
Absolutely.
But yeah, probably before I would have just been like more of an Imperium person.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's
Yeah,
all
it's
you know, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the easiest to get into. And
Yeah, it like it's sort of easy to understand because like a lot of the like religious connotations and
The themes carry over.
yeah, totally. It's like okay, this is like super easy to understand. Whereas like I think a lot of other races maybe are a little more daunting, but yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like that. We don't have a dedicated Eldar player.
Oh no.
What a coincidence.
But yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Anyways.
collecting.
Oh, collecting. Then, Jordan, do you want to sell your kidney or your liver to pay for this? Oh, neither? Okay, well.
We'll take your eyes then.
I could be a prostitute.
I like how you're sitting there, like, all tucked up.
I'd pay for it. Something actually we should talk about when it comes to like the army you play and what you collect is there's a survey going around right now that on the Warhammer community page.
Yeah, and on Facebook page. Games
Yeah,
Workshop,
you know,
whatever.
I'm like chances are good if you're in the Warhammer like community and you guys are like up to date with stuff, you've probably seen this. But
Yeah.
I would say go do it. So it's a
Yeah.
survey that actually Games Workshop is putting on, and all they're doing is they're collecting data on you know, how often do you go to tournaments? What do you play? What's your favorite part? What's your favorite setting?
How long have you been in the hobby?
Exactly.
How much do you spend per month?
Yeah, exactly. How often do you purchase stuff? And all of it is like business related. There's like one or two questions in there
That
that
really just makes you scratch your head.
right.
And
It makes you wonder. So, go do it. Go do the survey.
Yeah.
If you
It's
need
unprecedented for GW to actually reach out to the community and ask you, hey, what do you want?
if
What do
you want to
think?
find out where to do it, message us on Facebook. You know what? I'll post something on Facebook
Yeah.
about where to do the survey at.
Yeah.
But okay, one of the questions on it is what is your gender? Is that what they ask?
Yeah.
Okay, and they put male, female, prefer not to say,
Other.
or other.
With like a fill in the blank.
Right,
line.
you get to put in what your gender is, and so like all the questions like they're making complete sense.
Yeah, it's
to
like,
me.
how much do you spend? Like, blah, blah, blah. What's your
How far are you willing to travel, like for
Yeah.
a tournament, or when was the last time you went to a tournament, and all this stuff. And then they throw this question there, and it like threw me off like so hard that I wrote other, and I was like, well, what does this matter? Like to how much Warhammer I spend? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't like.
Will you cater me differently if I'm a guy or a girl?
Yeah,
'cause
like-
that doesn't make sense. Like, why would you want to do that?
Right,
Like,
exactly. But
know.
Christian was
either
telling
into
me
Warhammer, you're not.
Christian was telling me that he put in an odd answer for his. So why don't you tell us?
I sexually identify as a space marine.
So you're a male, but you have no male desires.
Exactly.
Right, you've
Perfect.
given them up.
Your only
For a greater
sexual
cause.
pleasure is violence.
Essentially.
Perfect. Okay.
I thought you said sensually.
Sensually.
Yeah. But it's totally worth doing. Really, it took me like 6 minutes or something to do this
You're not
survey.
gonna ask me what my answer was.
What was your answer, Mark? What did you put in for your gender?
I said, checks if I has a penis. Yep, I'm a male. Because like, yeah, you're a male or you're a female. It's pretty fucking simple.
Get out of here.
But no, it's a good survey. I would do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they did have a couple other questions. Like the very last question is probably the most relevant.
Yes, exactly.
What was the wording?
The
exactly?
wording is just like, what would you like to see
Oh yes, yes.
from Games Workshop in the future or something?
Yeah.
So it was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and it's just a good way to like. We've said it multiple times. Like
Games Workshop, listen to us.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you have an opinion, like you got to say your opinion. And
Plastic
this is
Sisters of Battle.
That was what you said?
Oh, yeah.
Plastic
Nice.
Sisters
I
Battle,
hope-
no female Marines.
I said, no, do not put female Marines and Plastic Sisters of Battle.
I said no female Marines either. But I also said do a stock split on their stock so I can buy it.
I am a man of the people, and I said lower prices was my theme throughout the whole thing. Because people like Jordan, who wants to do an Eldar army, like
It's gonna cost you
that's
so much
awesome.
to get
It's hard to
it.
do when you're
But-
on welfare.
we say as we're in his house picking his pot.
Using his microphone.
Yeah.
Hey, don't crap on this welfare queen.
But like, once again, I don't know their financial situation, how much they're actually overcharging.
They're making lots of money. That's all I'm into.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing you said, Eric, was like free open source codexes.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause let's be honest, we've all downloaded their codexes.
Not me. Never done it. No. What I wrote to them, I was like, yeah, make your codexes open source. Like, it's super frustrating to pay for them when I know I could get them for free.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah, I download codexes. Like, why would I ever pay for something?
Why would you ever pay $60 for
Yeah,
something?
like a real book doesn't cost that much.
Like, and I get it.
They don't even have like a Kindle version.
They do,
But
but
it's only
even
like
that
$5
one's like,
less
yeah,
for,
it's
like, the
still
digital
way
copy.
too much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I
like
think it's like $30 or something if you buy the digital one.
I haven't checked their digital prices, but I know when like they first started coming out with the digital copies, it was only like $5.
It's still too much. Like,
Yeah.
I just bought a brand new book that I came out that I've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
Full price, hardcover, $25.
Done. 600 pages.
Oh, try closer to like 1,300 pages.
Oh fuck yeah. So like
Come on, G-Dub.
yeah.
Like,
So-
make them open source. Like, sure, if someone wants to buy the physical copy, let that one be available. No problem. Make your digital ones open source. We still can't do anything until we buy your models. We're still
the
at
thing,
your
yeah.
mercy.
Yeah.
Like, and we're going to buy your models no matter what. But it's such like a good thing to be like, hey, like, or they do a flash thing where like every like 6 months, they're like, hey, for the next 2 days, all our codexes you can download for free.
Yeah.
That, like, it's such a gift.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Exactly. Like, and not only does it give people the rules to play, which makes them want to buy models, it also introduces you to the lore, which makes you want to
Buy their black library.
or models or whatever. Like,
Or models.
one of the questions too was, how many people have you introduced into the hobby? And mine was like, there's not an option for me. It's too many. But like, that goes back into the whole pricing thing where it's like, I introduced a lot of people and it's like, as much as I want Jordan to get an Eldar army, like, save you money. Unless you're into Warhammer.
Yeah.
You know, like really into
Yeah,
it.
you're
like,
making a commitment.
Turn it into
You-
you have to turn it into a hobby if you
do.
want to spend
do.
money
It's,
into
it's
it.
not a casual thing, unfortunately.
Unless you're Peter.
Get your casual gamers out of here
Unless you're Peter and you buy like one box set of Space Wolves.
and get frustrated.
Yeah. You put it all together and you're like, huh, this guy has 2 left arms.
I'm kind of curious, what is the viability of 3D printing models?
I have bought a couple 3D printed models. And
For unrelated purposes, we don't use non-GW
yeah, like I
stuff.
bought
GW.
like a couple like
an
like
RPG you
Dungeons
did,
and Dragons.
yeah,
like 3D.
Pathfinder
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
The quality isn't as good.
Not yet.
You
Not
can't get
yet.
the detail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But,
it's
like-
probably a detail issue. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's only a matter of time.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it doesn't cost much to pour plastic into a mold. Like,
Once it like
Have you seen their stock price? Like, they're doing amazing.
I'm sure they are.
The only reason they're doing that is because they're charging so much.
well, yeah, like the thing is they're gonna have to adapt once people just start basically buying identical models.
So Games Workshop has been very good or bad, depending on how you want to look at it, in shutting down third-party companies that produce models that are essentially the exact same.
So
Like,
you
they have
cannot
set
make
up-
them and buy them, but if you were to do it in your own home,
Yeah.
But what could really be? How could they know the difference if I'm just selling it on, say, Kijiji? I could just say I already bought this and I'm just reselling something. I already
like
bought.
you can always get around it, but like there have been like big law battles where it's like you're clearly making stuff
Yeah.
for Space Marines. That is RIP.
when it's
they're-
like a big
Yeah.
big like internet
Yeah.
company or something.
yeah, if you were to
And-
solo do it, that's different than
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
like you actually selling them on a website or
yeah,
something.
yeah. The other thing is like, as much as we like to think like, oh yeah, we get a 3D printer. Like me and Christian have talked about this when 3D printing came out. Like we can get it, we can start printing all our own stuff, but like just to be able to make a model, like that's tough. Like to actually go into the
Computer software, yeah,
software
and design it.
programming and designing and like
Like it takes skill.
yeah, like it's not just something you pick up.
Well, they have
over
3D
a
like
weekend.
renderers now, where you put a model inside a thing.
Yeah,
It'll
and
take a
like,
graphic
and you can
scan
even
of it.
buy programs too that like, oh,
Yeah,
someone's
well,
selling the
once again,
program.
A lot of 3D models even come with. like,
Honestly
3D
though,
come
I
with
think
that.
in like the next 5 years, it's going to become so easy
Yeah.
because the technology is getting so much better.
As of right now, though, I think even with that scanning, it still just isn't.
It's not there yet.
No. Yeah,
The
it
quality.
can't send the same cast. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
100% right.
But you are right, Jordan. Like, we wait 5 years and it's going to be a different game
Yeah.
entirely.
Yeah.
Like, different market, I mean.
Well, yeah, and maybe it would actually force GW to drop their prices a little
Yeah.
bit.
Be a
Stay
little
competitive.
competitive.
Yeah.
You're seeing a little bit of that happening with other game systems. Like there's a lot of other plastic miniatures that are kind of in the same scale.
Yeah.
And they are starting to break up the monopoly that GW has enjoyed for a large part of time. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds.
Oh, sorry, Jordan.
Oh no, I was just saying like I mean it's an industry they created almost, and so like there's no.
I wouldn't say they created it, but they popularized it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't create miniature gaming, obviously, but
I know what you're saying.
like
yeah.
Who else produces miniatures on the same scale?
Like Warhammer is almost an industry in and of itself, like separate from miniatures and models.
Yeah,
like,
they definitely stand on their own. for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Just so we're not just ragging on Games Workshop and pricing, Christian, like I was bitching to Christian about it, and he raised the point like their kits that they're coming out now, like their starter kits and stuff, are crazy good deals. Or if you buy like their $200 box set armies, they're also good deals where it's like you're
Yeah, so
spending
if you're
$200 and you get $250
relative to
worth.
GW's own pricing schemes, they haven't really done this before, where you're actually getting a deal from them. You're getting like
it
free
used
units.
to be like, hey, we'll pack together these 6 things, which normally would cost you $350 for $340.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like that.
no,
It
they
was
would
like
just charge you the
$350.
same price.
Yeah.
You're just getting a bigger box.
Yeah.
is essentially it.
So Games Workshop is doing better that way in doing these starter kits and starter games, but they're still so expensive.
Yeah,
Like,
it's still a
yeah,
little
like they're
much.
still overpriced, but like I said, within their own product line,
It's
they're
coming
giving
in
you
the
a
right
deal.
direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
So not just to poo-poo on games, poo-poo.
Not just a poo-poo.
on Games Workshop, but they do things I do like a lot.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, more often than not.
And on that note,
Yeah, I guess that is a decent note. We're going to talk now about like where the lore is going, but what we think about it, how we feel about it, how we forget about it.
What is what?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, there's the touches. I wonder if they heard the scratches rubbing against my beard.
I can only hope so. Yeah, let's talk about what we think like the current story is. Some of the things we don't like, but also some of the things we do like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why don't you kick it off, Christian?
yeah, okay. So just to set it up a little bit, you guys got to stop dancing.
Well, Christian just had like some arm flailing.
It's like, what do you want? He does this all the time.
I was stretching my arm.
I can't wait till we do video. That's one of the things we're talking about for the new year.
I
Yeah.
want people to see my face.
Whooping.
We'll put
Paper bag it.
no. We'll do like one of those what do they call it? Distortions.
Oh yeah.
But then like it'll just slip every once in a while.
This is totally off topic, but my favorite like distortion thing was Arrested Development. There was like the 7 famous twins, like Andy Richter and Donnie Richter, and there's 7 twins, but one of them's faces was blurred because he didn't want his face to be shown, but it's like they're identical twins. It's so funny. Such a classic moment. And then they're like, I bet you guys can guess what his face looks like. And they take like one of the faces from the guy next to him and slide it onto his face. It's so funny. So good.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so there's things we like about Games Workshop in the direction they're going. Things we don't like. Things that we don't care or we don't have an opinion either way on.
Yeah, so just kind of a setup is like right now we're in an era that is pretty well unprecedented for the last like edition since maybe 3rd edition. The lore has been pretty stable.
Yeah, it hasn't really changed for at least like 10 years.
It was a big debate until very recently. Like, yeah, in the last 2, maybe 3 years, they started advancing the storyline. Maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah. So before that, Warhammer 40K was more of a setting. Like it was a miniature battle game, and the story was just to set it up. It wasn't meant to be fleshed out particularly well. It wasn't necessarily. It was meant to give you a reason to play the game on the tabletop.
Yeah.
But now the lore has taken kind of a life of its own.
Yeah.
And the Games Workshop IP has expanded into like video games, into all this other into books, into novels, into all these other areas, that the community became divided on those who saw it as a setting.
Yeah.
They established the setup of each race, kind of like where they're at. They kind of created a level playing field where everyone could start from, and then like take it from there. You tell your own stories, you play your own games.
Yeah. Where now when you talk to people, they're like, oh yeah, have you heard of 40K? And they're like, oh yeah, that video game?
Yeah.
It's like,
no, more people know about 40K from other media sources than
like,
what
no,
it
I mean
started
like the
from.
tabletop, and they're like, what is that? Like
Yeah.
some people don't even know it's
Or
a board
some people
game.
are like, oh, did you know they made miniatures also? And
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Yeah, that's what they did first.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
You hipsters.
Yeah. But yeah, so the one wing of the community for a long time was like, no, it's just a setting. There's no need. It always stopped at M41999, and like the galaxy was on this brink, right? This moment I said before of like anything could happen from this point forward, and that's kind of like the standing on the edge of the precipice. And everyone says that's kind of like that's the setting. It's not a story.
Yeah.
And then you have the other camp who started to get invested in the lore, into the books and things like that, and they're like, no, we need the story to progress. Like. We need
What happens next?
Yeah, we need something new. Yeah, exactly. What happens next? We want to see. Back then, like the Primarchs weren't fleshed out. The Primarchs started to get fleshed out in 30K, and then eventually people were like, well, we want them in 40K again. When are they coming back? And GW always left these like hanging story threads where like the Primarchs said one day they'll return.
Yeah.
And this was always part of the lore, but they never. I don't think at the time they ever intended to really bring them back. It was always just another hook, another plot hook to bring you in, right?
Yeah.
And like for you to speculate on. Whereas now they're like, well, we said we were going to do it, so let's just go with it. So yeah, like I said, it's a very strange.
Okay, so what do you like in the new lore?
Well, we'll get there. I'm giving the setup a history lesson. Some might add.
Keep going. I feel like I've been staring at you for 5 minutes, and I'm like, what is he talking about?
The history, the thing that makes this game great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So with that kind of,
he's pissed. Eric's pissed.
I'm not pissed. I'm just confused, and I think my fever is picking up again.
So yeah, with that kind of setup, yeah, I do like the fact that they are pushing the plot forward.
Yeah, like it has to be done. You can only play in a setting for so long before
Yeah,
it becomes
it gets stale.
Yeah. There are some people who don't like that. Some people who do. Whatever. That's whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about what we think.
Our opinions. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm 100% okay with that. I'm glad they're bringing back the Primarchs. I want to see them return to the tabletop. I want to see what they look like now. We now know what they looked like back then, what their personalities were like during the 30K era. I want to see how they evolve and change in the 40K era, how they kind of respond to this empire that's changed so differently from where they're at.
Yeah. And there's tons of cool directions that they could go with each Primarch. Like, me and Christian, before Reboot Gilliman came out even, we were talking like, oh, it'd be sweet if he came back in like a dreadnought, and like, because he was so mortally wounded that was the only way to keep him alive, was like this huge hulking dreadnought body.
Yeah,
And, like-
like there's tons of
like-
like fun speculation you can have of like how each Primarch, what they were, the last thing you heard from them, and then where they could go with it.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think of Gulliman now?
So, me personally, I'm torn. I don't know if I like the Primarchs coming back, the Loyalist ones necessarily. Like, I just, to me, they belong in 30K. I'm a gamer, and now it's just become Hero Hammer, where it's like, oh, what hero are you bringing to the table? You bring in Reboot? You bring in Mech? Like, and more Primarchs that come out, it's just going to be more like, what Primarch are you bringing? Like, to me, it's not about that.
I can definitely see that. And in like, when you look at the types of games that they give you like options to play, and obviously you can play whatever the hell you want, but a lot of what Games Workshop does is they want to create narratives in their games.
Yeah.
And you're a narrative player. I'm a narrative player. Christian is way more of a narrative player than us. Like he has to have a story for everything, right? Like if you had an Ultramarine army, and you had Reboot Gilliman's model, how often are you really going to field him from your perspective?
And from a narrative point, not very often.
Same here.
Yeah.
Right? And like
I'm not fielding him in every game.
If you're going to a tournament though, like
you field him every time.
Right, exactly.
And everyone fields him every time.
All right, no, so let me ask you the next question.
Yeah.
When was the last time you went to a tournament?
I don't go.
When was the last time? Well, and so when we play with each other, and for us it's story driven when we play.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. But all I'm saying is that, like, yes, they're bringing it back, and yes, it's Hero Hammer in the tournaments, which we don't participate in.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
So for us, like, it's sweet that he's there because now we could get him.
He's an option.
Right.
Yeah, and this is why
we
I'm
could
torn
build a
between
narrative, like, on McCraig. Like, we could have, like, hordes of Tyranids fighting, like, these Ultramarines that are slowly being depleted as the waves come and, you know.
Yeah.
They come back, and Roboot has the last guy there.
I get what you're saying. And, and that's why I'm torn between it. Because it's like, I love, like, we've always talked about, like, the Primarchs coming back and, like, how sweet it would be. But, like...
And how it would change everything.
And that's the thing. And, like, it just...
So now we're seeing the change, and it's not exactly what we wish
for. No, it's not even that. Like, I have nothing against Reboot coming back. It's just, I don't like the fact that now, like, he's just in every list. Like... I don't
he takes away from that's what's going to be the trade-off when you have these godlike figures, like you said, is like they become the focus and everything else kind of falls by the wayside, right? Like
I mean, you're totally right. Like, if I'm playing Death Guard, I'm bringing Mortarion.
Yeah, so it just
right?
It's not a downside. It's not a positive. It's just a thing. It's just a statement.
It's just how it is.
Yeah, and I have nothing against it or anything.
But I also think that, like, us as narrative players, we do have a sense of reality in a universe that doesn't exist.
It's 38,000 years in the future.
Okay.
It does exist.
It's existing right now.
But that's nice to me. Like, you can still, now you, like, actually have the opportunity to bring them.
Yeah.
So if I was to, like, if I was playing against, like, so we have another friend. Oh my God, I keep turning my phone on freaking non-silent for some reason. Like, we have a friend, and whenever we would play, like, Pathfinder or D&D with him, he's a min-maxer. Like, doesn't really care for the story as much as us, as much as he does for numbers.
Yeah.
And so if he was to play, I'm talking about Mike.
I know.
If you're listening to this.
He's not.
If he was to play, he's bringing Reboot to every single fight.
Yeah, you're playing 500 points, he's bringing them.
I would get so sick and tired of fighting Reboot.
Like, it's just like...
That's why we don't play with him.
So, it's whatever. I like that they're coming back. It does take away a little bit of, like, that mythicalness about them.
It totally does. It makes them real people.
It brings them down a little bit,
and that's part of what I don't like about it. But I also love the fact that, like, they are living gods.
You always frustrate me whenever you say the word God.
It's a small G, not a capital G.
I know. It's just, that's all.
Yeah.
They're demigods.
Because the Emperor is the only true god.
It's just whatever.
Well, even he's not a god. Reboot has said it.
So, Primarch's coming back. We think that's a good thing. Like,
for the most part, it's okay. It's just,
it adds a lot to the story. I just hope that it's not where every battle now, like in the lore, it's like Gilliman's.
And the only stories they're going to tell, even like from a lore perspective, is like everything's going to revolve around the Primarch.
Yeah, because there's so many cool stories about
you made a
Space
point
Marines.
already, like with someone like Marnius Calgar has been like a central figure of 40k for a long time.
Yeah.
He's been the hero of the Ultramarines.
Like, he's like one of the 3 pillars of the Imperium. Like, there's Layman Russ. Oh, not Layman Russ. What's the Space Wolf?
Oh yeah.
Fucking what's his name? Logan Grim.
Yeah, Logan Grimnar.
And then Dante, and then Marinius Calgar.
Yeah.
They're like the 3 pillars of the Imperium.
Yeah, they're like the trifecta of like stability and like they're heroes. Like they
They're
have
like
this long list of amazing feats. And suddenly, like, all that's erased because this bigger thing just stands beside them.
It doesn't have to be erased, though.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Exactly, and that's just the thing I hope that they don't do. Suddenly, all these heroes become nothing.
I think for new people to the story, like, they will first get immersed in the Primarchs before they learn all of Marnius' stuff or Logan's stuff. And what's funny now is that, like, Leman Russ is totally going to come back, and so is Sanguinius. So that's all good stuff, too.
You take that back. I'll kill you dead right here.
So that brings us to our next point about the lore. Primaris Marines. When you have something that's so good that it leaves everything else behind.
So what's actually really funny is I remember when like they weren't even announced yet, and Christian had like the blurriest picture ever of this of a Marine, and he's like, look at how different it is, and he's pointing out these things, and I'm going to need you to hold your mouth for 2 seconds, Christian, because this is the conversation that went down. Mark and Christian are staring at the exact same photo. And Mark is
Foaming at the mouth.
both of them, yeah, because they're both like Christian's like it's something new, and Mark's like that's impossible.
That's a Stormcast Eternal Lake.
But
Can't you see?
So Mark is like he's pointing at this picture, and Mark is like this is this, and Christian is pointing at the exact same picture, and he's like it's too blurry for you to tell, but I'll tell you what it is. And that was what was hilarious to me so much is that they're arguing over the same picture, but like they refuse to believe that the other person was right. In Christian's defense,
he was right.
He was correct.
Like 100%. Like I even picked up the helmet details on the blurry photo. I'm like, this is the style of helmet they're imitating.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Right.
I remember
and I wrote him an apology letter the very next day.
I remember like how much craziness when they first announced that.
Yeah.
And it changed everything.
So what do we like, not like? What's our...
So
I hate the anti-grav stuff.
Yeah.
I think it looks so dumb.
Let's go into the lore for a second. So the Imperium is supposed to be like technology does not advance, it degrades. Like they are not an advanced society. They are degrading constantly. So then for this one call guy to come out of nowhere and be like, hey, check out all this technology I've been working on. Like not only is that like literally a heretical act, it also it goes against
it's dangerous.
And it just goes against the theme of 40K. So right off the bat, like I don't like the lore behind it. Like
you just don't like the fact that they've changed something.
It's not.
It goes against the flavor of what already existed.
Yeah, because now the Imperium, any new technology, like they're no longer a declining thing. They're an advancing civilization, right? Which to me goes against the grim darkness. To some degree.
Can you not argue that with the change in leadership that the values of the Imperium is changing itself?
I would say yes. However, Call starts to like reveal some of the stuff a little bit before Gulliman. Like it doesn't take Gulliman for him to start like unloading.
But the reason it's more accepted is because of the change in leadership.
Absolutely, sure. Like
you can make that excuse, but it's not going to suddenly reverse.
It's an excuse, is what
it's not going to reverse.
Right?
It's not going to reverse hundreds and thousands of years of a mindset. In one instance.
No. But if all of a sudden like new ideas come forward, we're not as quickly to take people out behind the barn and shoot them.
Maybe.
Like we're talking about the Imperium, who
loves shooting people.
No, who there's two Space Marine scouts and they find an STC for a new blade and
they get a combat knife.
And they get a planet. They each get one whole planet. Like this is the Imperium. They find a combat blade and they're like, this new technology is great.
Yeah, they don't.
That is like.
There's no innovation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
and now all of a sudden,
knife, and now they have repulsors and.
I will agree that it is changing, and I don't like the way. I don't really like the way it happened, but I also am more like,
Yeah, like. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it anymore.
Anymore. You've dealt with your Primaris demons. You're done.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the Marines themselves?
So, model-wise, to me, they look sweet, except for the Reavers. People are gonna boo me.
What are the Reavers?
The Reavers are like their scout equivalents. They're terror squads. They wear like skull helmets, which Christian brought up a good point. Like
individually, they're cool. But like the skull theme is already used in Space Marine armies. Like they usually represent chaplains.
Well, not usually. Like that's
what they do.
Their shtick.
Yeah.
Like a chaplain wears a skull mask and then they never take it off.
So I don't know about that, but
they don't show it to anyone other than their brothers. They never show their face.
That's true, but okay,
it's true.
Regardless, the skull helmet theme is already taken, right? It already means something.
Yeah.
So for them to suddenly just like
it has a religious meaning too.
Mass produce it, like it kind of lessens it, right?
Yeah, it takes away from the chaplains.
I didn't know that there was things that did that.
Yeah. So if the chaplains didn't
Google Reaver Primaris Reaver Marines.
Yeah. If the chaplains didn't already use that kind of unique facet of it, then like sure, whatever, it's cool.
Sure, yeah.
Or even use it more sparingly,
Yeah.
But like they're just trying too hard to be too edgy. You know?
Yeah. And then the other gay thing about them is their freaking calf muscles. It's like they have from their knees, it gets power armored, then it goes down, and it's like less power armor, and then it bulges back up. You'll see a picture of it right here. Jordan has it. Like, look at their calf muscles. Like, what the hell? Like, that doesn't even... What? Who's calf... Why? Why are their calf muscles like that? Who thinks that's cool? Tell me.
Is it a muscle or is it a?
No, it's just
It's
like
armor.
their power armor. But
That's
like,
weird.
why would they? But it makes them more mobile. But like, how does that make them
Seems
any more
odd.
mobile? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Like I have no problem with them like
I think it
making
looks
changes.
kinda cool,
I have them no problem with making changes to the armor, right? Like we've seen
like-
different marks of armor
No,
all the
but
time.
like
But
that to me, like it doesn't. It takes armor away without giving any benefit. Like it'd be one thing if like, oh, they're not wearing power armored arms, like the whole arms are bare because now they have more mobility with their arms. But like where they took the armor away, it doesn't add anything to it. It makes
Right.
them just look odd. Like
yeah, like misshapen.
yeah, but
Interesting.
so model wise, I think
I have a bigger problem with the mask though, because that's supposed to be a religious symbol.
yeah, like it just is like chaplains have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes away from that for sure.
Model wise, like I really do like the range as a whole. Like, and even if I bought those Reavers, I just wouldn't use that helmet, and I'd green stuff their calf muscle. Not a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
other than that, like their poses are sweet, their war gear's sweet. Like
Oh yeah.
yeah, look at that calf.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the range?
I like the way they look. I do think they suffer it's you sacrifice one thing for the benefit of the other. Like I do like that they're all uniform for more or less now compared to the Space Marines before. But you do
Where there was so many different kinds of armors.
but that had its own kind of flavor and that had its own feel to it that I liked as well. So you lose something and you gain something else in regard to how they look. I do like that they're true scaling now.
Yeah.
Like I mean we've experimented with true scaling ourselves.
I have
using
not just experimented. I have gone full bore,
full-
and
he couldn't go back. He couldn't go back to
I
normal
literally
size
made
Space
one
Marine.
true scale, and I never went back. I threw out all my regular. Well, I didn't throw them out, but like I
They're in
threw
the
them
bit
into my
spin.
bit
Scrap
spin.
them into the bit spin.
Like, because
yeah.
it's like, wow, these no longer look cool.
Yeah.
They're
So-
just so overpowered,
Underwhelming.
underwhelming. Exactly is the word.
For anyone who doesn't know what true scale Marines are, because I talked to Jason James about it, and he didn't know what they were.
Oh.
But like, I don't know if he's really like.
A modeling guy.
No, he definitely is, but like, yeah, I don't know how much time he spends looking on the internet in the
Gotcha.
deep dark web for.
That's
True
not the
scale
deep
Marines.
dark, but that's fine.
True scale Marines are basically in the lore. Space Marines are 8 feet tall. On the tabletop, they're the same height as Acadian. So a true scale Marine is to make them essentially 2 feet taller than Acadian. And the way you do this is you take Terminator legs, Terminator arms, and Space Marine torso and helmet and backpack. And it gives them that appearance of being extra high or
Yeah, yeah.
extra tall. And like, yeah, you green stuff parts of them to make them look like they're not just like this weird.
But that's what,
essentially
yeah,
that's what it is.
feels a little better when you stand them next to a
they
Canadian.
Look thicker, a Canadian.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, they look thicker and they're taller.
Yeah.
And they look the way they should be.
Yeah. Like GW has always had trouble with scaling their models, so yeah, it does add to the when you actually see them on the table, they have this big imposing presence now.
Yeah. And I love that about the Primaris Marines now.
Yeah. So let's go into the lore
Yep.
of Primaris Marines. I am not a fan.
No.
100% not a fan of the lore. I think it was a lazy introduction. I think it was just a way for them to quickly write story to get the model range out.
Yeah.
I don't think they put like very much thought into how to
Well,
bring them out. I don't see the need for one, it does the same thing that the models do. It degrades the Marines that existed before. You have this
can we talk about what the difference in the lore
yeah,
for
absolutely.
them is so
Yeah.
we know
So-
why it degrades?
Space Marines are obviously like super enhanced
They have 21 maybe.
genetic enhancements
19 or something like
and
genetic-
implants.
Yeah. From the ability to spit acid to a second heart to
Yeah. It elevates them to like a
Blood coagulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it elevates them to this other level of like no normal human could ever compete with a Space Marine
Yeah.
in like any physical capacity. And the Primaris Marines take that and then they add to it, or Belisarius Call adds to it and creates these better Marines who are
Yeah. So
bigger
they-
and stronger.
So they take guys that are already bigger and stronger and faster and whatever, and they make them even bigger and stronger and faster. And then next year they're going to take more, and they're going to take their Primaris Marines. They're going to make them bigger.
Yeah,
stronger,
it's just,
and then
you know,
they're gonna
you don't
make
need super
Primaris
soldiers,
Yeah,
right?
like it just.
But don't you?
How many supers do you need behind a soldier? And
It
so
depends. If,
You-
the, if
no,
the
no,
threat
so
just increases,
here's the
it's
thing.
an arms race.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So yes, you do need super soldiers when everyone has super soldiers, but then you no longer use super soldiers. You only use your super soldiers.
yeah, you don't need to
Where
go three
right
stages
now,
ahead.
Games Workshop is using their super soldiers and their super soldiers. Where we should only be using super soldiers.
Well-
but obviously, like then everyone has to chuck out their models, and that's not good.
But if that's the point, why did we ever use Cadians in the first place? Why would we ever use the Astra Militarum if we have the Adeptus Astartes?
just numbers.
Well, that's why you use your super soldiers and your super soldiers.
Except now they even outnumber the regular.
Right, but why would
Marines.
if you have a tool,
Okay,
you
so
use it.
To make the Primaris Marines, it's not like it adds an additional 10 years onto the process. Like it's probably only going to add a couple weeks.
Yeah, of
So-
course. But all I'm saying is like maybe you don't make any more new Space Marines and you only make Primaris Marines, but you don't retire all your Space Marines that you currently
No,
have.
you still
No,
use
you
them.
fight them until
Right,
I know,
they die.
until they're dead.
But that's not the direction of the lore is going. Like
They're
Games
still making
Workshop,
Space Marines.
yeah, Games Workshop is still coming out with Space Marine models and Space Marine kits.
But I think there's a good lorical reason behind that is because you also have to wait until the gene seed in a Primaris. I'm assuming it works the same way in Primaris for a regular Marine, right?
Actually,
so
the flaws of Gene Seed that
I think
usually
he's talking
presented.
more about like harvesting it.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because so there's a certain amount of gene seed in Primaris Marines, and you have to wait till it's ready to harvest, and then you can take it out, and then you can start building another Primaris. And then when that one dies, you can
Yeah.
reuse it. So there's not an infinite amount, and they will lose Primaris, right? And so that's all I'm saying is like,
Yeah, so I know what you're saying. So like lorically in 200 years, all the regular Space Marines should be phased out essentially.
not necessarily, because
Like,
they'll
sure,
keep using the gene seed. Right? Why would you not keep using a tool that works? Like, yes,
Well,
you
no,
put
no,
your
because
focus
your
on
chapter
the
isn't
Primaris.
growing
So
in
the Primaris
size.
Marines doesn't use different gene seed. It just has extra implants.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah,
when a
so they
regular
could
Space Marine
recycle.
dies,
Oh,
that,
okay.
that gene seed can be used to then create
Right.
a Primaris Marine.
Or the Primaris gene seeds could be used to create a regular Marine. It's interchangeable.
But why would you?
No, all I'm saying is
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they're interchangeable.
like-
Right, okay.
logically, like in
So yes,
You know,
when a
there's-
Space Marine dies,
Yeah.
we would take its gene seed and make Primaris Marines
So logically,
if we had
there will
the
never
ability.
be a
Yeah.
regular Space Marine. There should only ever be Primaris made from now on.
But
But that
does
is-
it take a different like lab to make a Primaris
No,
Marine?
No, it's just
No, it's
Yeah.
it's just a way for GW to make the models work, and I appreciate it
Yeah.
because I too would be pissed off if suddenly
they
they
came
release this
out
new
and-
range and oh great you get to scrap all your old models.
Yeah.
Here's the new stuff.
So lorically, it would make sense for them to phase out eventually all Space
Yeah, and
Marines.
you can guess that that's maybe the direction they're going to go in eventually.
But it
Who
would take a
knows?
long time.
Who knows?
Some of these
Yeah,
Marines have
that's
been
not-
around for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Oh, but like even Games Workshop's plan, like that to get rid of their Space Marine range, that's not like a 3-year plan. You know,
No,
that's going to
that's
be
like
over the
a-
next like 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know exact numbers, obviously, but like that's not just like
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
It's not confirmed.
Just to bring it back to the lore, though, the other thing too with these Primaris Marines, again, I'm not a fan of like needing for someone to improve on the Emperor's work. Like I find that
super heretical.
Yeah, I find it an affront. I also find that it invalidates like
Oh, you're such a loyalist.
all these
Christian.
Marines who have these long, extensive histories into the Horus Heresy and all this like rich backstory. All of it's invalidated by these new, more powerful guys who are just by virtue of existing better than
Yeah.
tons of Space Marines that have had these like long, illustrious careers.
Yeah, it's like a new thing,
Yeah.
essentially.
Well,
where like
honestly, like the only reason I could see you're against it from a lorical perspective is that you're tampering what the Emperor created. But if Roboute Guilliman is saying it's okay as a leader of the Imperium, does that not make it okay?
no, it does not.
And you could even have a conflict with like Gulliman might not be right. Gulliman might not be interpreting the Emperor's will. And I mean, the fact that it exists to me is a problem. The other thing too
it
is, I forgot what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought.
I just like if you have if there's like a training program in the military.
I know, but if you keep making like infinitely better things, like
it's an arms race.
with who? Oh, that's what I was going to say. It also shifts the balance, right? Like now Chaos Space Marines, like there's no explicable reason why the Death Guard are now like on equal footing or like level, like even the model sizes have increased dramatically to face off
I got this one, Mark.
with Primaris Marines. Okay, fight me.
I have a good explanation.
Go for it.
It's very short and very easy to follow. Ready?
Yeah.
Magic.
Or sorcery. But then it's just like
Why
okay,
now? Why didn't they do it 100 years before and then just stomp the
I don't
loyalist
know. I'm not a
Marines?
Nurgle.
Yeah, but it just raises so many questions.
Yeah, it
And, like,
just doesn't. There's not a lot of logic to it.
Maybe Chaos doesn't want annihilation. Maybe they just want destruction and they want it to continue. Maybe
Friend.
they're very actually long-sighted and they would rather give a crippling Imperium a chance to survive, but continue to fight and
Sure,
struggle.
play the long game. Okay.
You never know.
It is called the Long War.
I just want to say I'm not a fan of how they introduce them.
Yeah, I'm not a super fan of the
lore.
Primaris either, but I can see it.
To me,
I can rationalize it.
It's a losing battle no matter how they released them. Like,
yeah, there's no good way to do it.
You invalidate all the other models. You pissed off a lot of people. You mess around with the lore. You piss off people. Like,
yeah.
They did the best they could. Like, by no means is this one of those things where it's like, fuck Games Workshop, I'm out. You know, like, no, this is no female Astartes.
Yeah.
You know, like, sure, I don't like Primaris Marines, but like Eric said, I can logic my mind around it well enough.
Yeah.
Like, will I ever buy a Primaris Marine and call him a Primaris Marine? No.
Filthy.
Like, because I true scale my Marines already, so I would buy a Primaris Marine and just use him as a regular Marine because he would fit the scale of my regular Marines.
Yeah, you just shave off a couple pieces of armor.
Yeah, like,
change the helmet.
Yeah, like,
Not give them the heavy bolter and the single hand.
well, and that's the other, like, fucking, they're flying guys are wielding heavy bolters, 2 heavy bolter pistols things, and
it's so
it's weird. It's like
a heavy bolter. Like when you see a regular Marine, like a Devastator, carrying a heavy bolter, it's like bigger than his body.
Yeah. Oh, but it has a shorter range, so that's why it's smaller gun. But it's just like
It doesn't make sense.
And
the range has nothing to do with the side of the gun because each bolt is propelled by
Its own fuel.
Its own fuel. So like literally the range of a bolt is the range of a bolt because it's how much fuel the bolt has, not the size of the gun.
Yeah. Well, they could have just made the because when I look at a Devastator, they also have like a pack.
Yeah.
Like including like all the shells. It's like belt fed.
Yeah.
Into it, whereas like that one doesn't have it. So they
Yeah,
might
they'd
have
run
just
out of
made-
ammo in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, they make like the bolts like way smaller, which would limit the amount of fuel they have.
But then why are they still? Why did
like,
they pack
hey,
just as
I'm
much
with
of a
you on
punch?
this one.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's really dumb.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Like, I also think that their gravity boot things are
Look
super
kind of ridiculous.
dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It looks like stilts. It makes me think of stilts.
yeah, that'd be an easy tweak though to carve off. Like if I ever do, well, I will be buying Primaris Marines for the Shelf Army just because it's the easiest way to make a bunch of true scale Marines. So.
Right.
And my Shelf Army is only 500 points, so it's not like
A big investment.
Are you going to include Reboot in that?
yes,
He will be the only model.
7
on
of them. But
7 reboots.
yeah, so like Primaris Marines, like it to me it's unnecessary. But Games Workshop, I understand why they do it. Like
Yeah, they
their biggest selling
they needed to
faction
do the
is Space
scale.
Marines.
They needed to increase the
They
scale.
did need to do that too.
So
And like they did the best they could with the situation that they were given.
Yeah.
And for people who just
yeah,
come
they created a world where it was heresy to make changes, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we need to make
some
changes."
yeah, like it's like I always see
I think of
both-
that meme where they're in like the boardroom and the director is like, "What do we do?" and like the one person would be like,
Oh,
yeah.
"Don't make any changes." The other person would be like, "Don't make any changes," and then the third one's like, "I don't know, make Primaris Marines," and he gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
yeah. Like I always try to look at both sides. I try to look at the company side and then the lore side. I understand why the company did what it did. And sure, whatever. Space Marines are the biggest selling model range. They need to be able to make more Space Marines.
Yeah.
You release Super Marines. They need to increase the size. Great, sure, whatever. But like Christian says, it just the way they did it, like it just seems sloppy. And I feel like they could have done more to it.
They could have done better.
Like they could have done better with it.
And that kind of brings me to the other aspect of the narrative. So with the whole campaign of advancing the story, they've had a bunch of books and codexes with the rules and stuff to kind of advance the plot. To me, a lot of it is very contrived. Like a lot of what we discussed, like is the Gathering Storm. There's a lot of acts of convenience for the Imperium.
Yeah.
Like Belisarius Call is a perfect example. He's like a microcosm of the bigger problem.
Yeah.
Is like he's such a convenient character that suddenly pulls out, all these things that, I've been working on this whole time, but
Here's
never
a
told
million Primaris
Yeah, exactly.
Marines.
And everything just works out so conveniently and so counter to what has already been established about the lore.
Yeah.
I mean, the character himself is not flawed, which is his biggest flaw. Like he's got no personal conflicts. He's good at everything. He brings like such a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
I don't like the character. I find him uninteresting and
Awesome model.
yeah, a very cool model, but like very lacking in backstory.
Very
and
much.
for us, I mean, for this podcast, it's lore hammer, right? So when the lore suffers,
We suffer.
we suffer emotionally.
You guys know that Carl's memory has been wiped at least twice,
I did read something
so
like that. Yeah.
he doesn't even know where he's from.
Excellent.
And his title, I got that, he is an Archmagos Dominus,
Yeah.
but he's known as the Dominatus Dominus, or the Master of Masters.
Oh, that's kinda
one of
cool.
the highest ranks available in the Mechanicum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just,
Yeah, and he comes out of nowhere. I mean, he is a new character they introduce all of a sudden, right? But he
Yeah.
comes out of nowhere, has
sure.
the answers to everything, and they just move the plot along. I mean, and there's constant cases of this. I mean, like, in the way they bring back Rabot, you just have like Black Legion attacks, like, very
like
convenient.
just at the climax where like they're trying to discuss to resurrect Reboot, the Black Legion,
Storms the
the
facility.
Ultramarines' home world. First of all, like not just some random planet.
They were
like-
there earlier, but yeah, they breach all the way to where they're literally having this discussion
Yeah, it's
and
just
push
like-
the plot into like allowing the Eldar to, do what they do with Guilliman.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the other thing is like you have all these alliances between Xenos and the Imperium, which there's precedent for it. Like the Eldar in the past have had alliances.
Yeah, they're about one of the few that do though.
Yeah,
but
to this level and like without any resistance is again very contrived.
yeah,
It goes very
and
counter
in
to
front
this-
of an Inquisitor too.
Yeah, and it's
Like-
very counter to the nature of 40K, right? You have all these factions that are supposed to be working against each other on this kind of almost even playing field, and now you have a bunch of factions banding together, which
Yeah.
now everyone else is at a disadvantage now that you have
Yeah.
Eldar
So
and
now,
humans
like
together.
to me, like why would Ynnari ever fight the Imperium? Like, because
Yeah.
their whole thing is like,
now they have to go out of their way to fight, whereas before it's like they went out of their way to become allies. Now
Yeah.
you really got to go out of your way to fight the
yeah,
Imperium.
because like for them to fight, it's like the Ynnari's whole thing about bringing Reboot Gilman back was because they wanted the Imperium to fight their battles for them. So now why would the Ynnari fight the Imperium?
Yeah, it's
like
it's
just-
counterproductive, right?
Like
so again, like a lot of it's just lazy storytelling.
Yeah.
And it's a way to push the story forward as quickly as possible. Again, could have been done much better.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to give too much flack to Games Workshop. But
You're not a hater, Mark.
Okay,
I try not to
things
be.
that I like though.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you dislike?
I think that sums it up. I mean, those are very big parts of it. So
Yeah, like
I'm glossing over a lot. I mean, like things like with
sure.
Kaldor Drago conveniently, showing up to anoint another Grey Knight leader. There's just a
Yeah.
lot of that just bothers me.
the convenientness, like right as Katie is about to be destroyed, like the Ynnari step in and
Yeah,
save all these
exactly.
people
There's-
that are key fit. Yeah.
Yeah,
like-
it's just very, very contrived to me.
yeah. Sure.
But things that I like I said, I enjoy that they're bringing the Primarchs back. Narratively, I really enjoy the Eldar story in all this. I think the Imperium suffers from a lot of that like convenient storytelling
Yeah.
and Deus Ex Machina, but the Eldar, on the other hand, have a very rich and detailed story. Jordan, this is not a pitch to get you to play them, but just like their part in this whole advancing the narrative, the whole bit with Ynid, bringing all these Eldar factions
Yeah, like
together.
Ynid's like an ancient mythos for the Eldar.
Yeah,
that
and this
have
has
always
existed in the
existed.
lore. Yeah, so this is like Games Workshop taking threads from the lore that have existed for a long time and weaving it together into like
Yeah.
a coherent story. So I really appreciate that. I really
Yeah.
like a lot of what the Eldar are bringing to the table. I do like that you still have the option to play the factions separately, but they have this new faction.
Yep. It's funny that you like that part. Like I know lots of people did not like the second book of the Gathering Storm, the Fracture of Bealtan.
Yeah.
But like yeah.
I appreciate where they're going with it, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is like with the Eldar, they're more willing to take risks. In that, like they killed off Bealtan, which is a big craft world, right? There's players out there that play this faction.
Is it actually gone?
It's not gone. There's a chance for it to come back.
Oh, okay.
But they
But
heard
it's
it. They heard it
definitely-
bad enough that it's like crippling the Ultramarines for like a good portion of time. They're going to be out of the playing field, right? It's that level of like crippling a part of a race. So I think that has a big part to do with it. And people love the Imperium, like that. They take up a majority. That's the other thing that bothers me. It's just constant focus on Imperium, whereas all the other
Yeah.
Xenos races kind of suffer
Yeah.
from lack of attention.
Yeah,
But like I said, the Eldar kind of escape that, and they do have this richer narrative, at least, that they can enjoy and that I enjoy as a part of them. I do like the split across the galaxy.
Yeah, that's so sweet. That's definitely my favorite part about the new lore.
One of the things I really appreciate about Games Workshop is they always like weave in historical narratives into their things. Like if you know history, if you're a student of history, you can definitely see like where a lot of inspiration comes from. And the Imperium has obviously some very heavy Roman themes. And the way I interpret this, Mark always fights me on my interpretations, but
It's
I
not
definitely
that I
think
fight
it's
you.
there.
I just don't care to draw
Right.
historical conclusions about.
well, they're there whether you believe
Yeah,
in
no,
them or
sure,
not.
but it's irrelevant to me why it's there or not.
Yeah,
like,
but to me it can be
it's
an
40K
indicator.
or it's Roman. Like, I don't mix my Star Wars and my Star Trek and my 40K. It's all my 40K is my 40K. I don't
Yeah.
care about Romans.
I think
Okay.
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's
you
one of
two-
the things that
here,
compels
let
me.
Let me point Christian's head in the direction of Jordan. Those two can talk. Me and Eric are gonna look at this rule book for a minute.
So Jordan,
Sorry, guys. Have you ever heard of the saying "Primus Portum"?
Yes.
I don't know
No,
what
I
that
haven't.
is.
Okay, you're gonna get really pissed off when you hear
Oh,
about
I'm
it.
ready.
Okay. So I was just doing like the link click. You go from one link to the next, to the next, to the next. The saying Primus Portum actually carried all the genetic code of the 20 original Primarchs.
Okay.
And the reason Call was able to make Primaris Marines is because Guilliman gave him this to do it. But get this. Inside here, the samples were even more potent than the gene seed.
Oh, great! Yeah, like it's just like
I love
stuff
it.
Like
I
that.
love
Like,
it.
It's just like, oh, really? Come on, Games Workshop.
It's hilarious. Like, it's a gene seed. That has everything you need. How do you get more, like...
How does it become better?
Right. Like, the thing is, like, a skin cell and a hair cell has all the genetic code you need.
Yeah.
Like, it
How is
doesn't...
it better?
I don't need, like, a piece of your heart and your liver and your intestines.
Yeah.
Like, I just need one thing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, keep going.
It's funny. Like that just kind of shows like, kind of just like they're forcing it down your throat. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no subtlety at all.
Right, yeah. Anyways, sorry. I just thought it was funny when I was reading because I was like, they'll get a kick out of this.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, so just like 2 seconds on the historical thing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, go for it. I didn't mean to shut you down.
Yeah,
I
it
just-
gives
I
you...
did. Shut up.
you get like a like you can see almost where they might be going with it. So with the Roman Empire, like part of their decline, the Roman Empire gets split in half, and then you have Rome and you have Byzantium as the two like parts of it. And I kind of see that parallel with the Imperium being split in half, right? So it's an age of decline still, even with all like the resurrecting of the Primarchs and this push forward, it could still very much turn into a bad thing for the Imperium. That's all I wanted to say.
Like,
Okay.
of course it's a bad thing for the Imperium. It's literally split in half.
I know.
It's called the Dark Imperium.
I didn't need to know Roman history to know that. It
Not
would be a
really.
bad
Right, but
thing.
if you see
Yeah.
the parallels, I mean,
Hey, have you ever
they're there.
heard of this thing called Civil War?
the Marvel movie, or what are we talking about here?
So the historical parallels between the United States and Marvel is
Yes, indubitably.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn.
Yeah, give
You
us-
losers.
Whoa. Give us your thoughts. Grease it on us.
I hate the fact that we're not super xenophobe anymore.
Right? Like, what's all these deals
friendship
with
hammer. Yes.
Yeah, when
Necron and
when
Blood
I was
Angels?
first hearing like, oh yeah, Eve Rain like helps like resurrect Guilliman, I'm like,
Whoa!
why wasn't she shot on sight? Like,
Who was in charge of keeping the gates?
when Peter
Execute that man.
when Peter was DMing for us in Death Watch,
Yeah.
he was always like, I'm gonna give them like a cool alien race to like interact with, and then we would just kill them all because we were Death Watch. And
It's your
we-
job.
It was like,
Yep.
we're protecting humanity from aliens. So like
The only reason you talk to a Xenos is just to find out where there's
more
more
Xenos to kill them. Yeah,
And then you kill that Xenos you just talked
exactly.
to. But like, yeah, your brain escapes or is let go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have Necron who are now suddenly.
Well, okay.
You have one Necron.
Within the other races, like they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Within humanity is what I'm more concerned about.
Like, 'cause
because humanity has always been like one of the few races that refuses to accept any other participation.
And it's not even just like they don't like to. Like, it's a
They
religious
actively
belief.
hate,
Like,
yes.
it's a religious belief
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the whole
It's a-
Imperium.
yeah.
Like,
And you know what? That's even an element that was present in 30K. The Imperium has like always been xenophobic.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like even in their era of reason, they were
Like-
pretty
Yeah.
xenophobic.
so for them to now all of a sudden doing like,
Yeah, and you have like Orks allying with Blood Angels.
and there's always been
Yeah.
like the
is it
outlaw.
Blood Angels?
I believe so.
So it's filthy Blood Angels that just love allying.
Oh, and people
themselves
rip on the Dark Angels so much.
as
like
closet heretics.
Dark Angel trying to explain he's not a heretic.
That picture's good.
Yeah, so like, and there's always the outliers. There's
Yeah.
always like the rogue traders or like the Inquisitor that'll deal with like an alien.
Yeah.
But as a whole, like you are not supposed to let like an alien near
Kill your Primarch.
Right, exactly.
Into your most holy of holy places. Like, that is
Exactly.
probably the Ultramarines like most sacred spot. Like,
Yeah. So that was like the biggest beef I had with it.
yeah,
But what I think is really cool is I love advances in story.
yeah, absolutely.
Like for me, I just love anything that changes.
Yeah.
I like seeing what happens next. I'm totally like a completionist guy. So to know like I can't wait to find out whether the Emperor is alive or dead. Like so you are like, oh, like leave it in the air, leave it in the open. For me, I'm like bust that door wide open. Let me
need to
see.
know.
Either like let him get off the throne or let us see his skull like roll down the steps or something. Like I want to see that. I want to know like can the Necron like ever like put the pylons back into like all the planets and like halt the Imperium completely. Another thing I was just reading is that one of the reasons that the Eye of Terror was so small was because all the pylons were around it.
Interesting. That's
Because
kinda
it
cool.
actually halts the Imperium
Yeah.
in its tracks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, can they ever do that? Like, will like the hive fleets ever be stopped? Will they be thrown back? Will they actually like? I love all that. I want to
Yeah.
know what happens at the beginning, and I want to know what happens at the end. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm totally cool with whatever they do. I just might not like some of it.
Me too. Me too. Like, it's gonna be like anything. You like some things, you don't like other things.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
You remember like for Necron and for a long time now you've been like, I started to like it. I'm starting to like
him.
it. Me too.
Yeah, boy.
And that's pissing me off. I wanted to stay hateful.
They still
I-
are very hateful.
No, I wanted to stay
okay.
hateful, but my hatred is slowly leaching out of me. I'm really starting to like the more involvement of the Necron and how they are. So
Yeah.
Thanks, G-Dub.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still very happy with Games Workshop. Like,
Oh yeah, I love new stuff.
yeah.
I just wish I had money.
I don't know. Get married, dual income, no kids. Be a dink like me.
Yeah. Anything else we want to chat about, Christian? Any other things any other salt you want to spread?
No, I'm good. I'm all salted out.
Put it on the salt on the world for that slug.
Oh boy.
Mark?
I'm just thinking here. I want to leave it on a positive note.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Warhammer's all about positivity.
Let's all go around the table and say
No.
one nice thing about
This
the
sounds
person
like
on your
Thanksgiving
right.
at my family.
Okay, Jordan, you start. Say one nice thing about the person on your right.
No.
Okay. Well, okay, sorry. I gave you Christian.
Yeah, that's the
There is no
worst.
nice. Let's go to your left.
Yeah.
Go to Eric. You like his touches? You like his touches. He likes them.
Hi, Jordan.
I like it when he doesn't sexually harass me.
I'll take that as I can sexually harass him more, so then he enjoys it when I don't even more. So be prepared for some inappropriate touches, Jordan.
Okay.
Mark, I appreciate.
Oh, we're actually doing this. Nice, nice.
Oh no,
My bottomless amounts of Warhammer. You appreciate that?
no, screw you. The other night, I'm sleeping and I'm in a group text with Mark and Christian, and it's 6 in the freaking morning, and my phone is
So
just
for any
going
like adult,
off.
that's really not a big deal to get a message.
Oh my gosh,
Any
I
working
probably-
Anyone
adults-
who works up at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
is a
I probably
reasonable
went to bed at
individual.
like 2:30 or 3 or something. I was pissed, so I sent them a scathing text.
which we promptly ignored.
They
and
did.
continued our conversation
Yeah.
after being rudely
Bastards.
interrupted.
But in the interest of not letting this degrade into just a fest until we shut her down, like I'm gonna call it unless we have something else to say.
No, I think I'm good. I like Games Workshop.
We love you,
I love you.
Can't say that enough times, can you?
Christian.
What?
You're okay?
Yeah.
Okay, Jordan, we're good.
Oh, do we want to talk a little bit about our next 2 episodes? And then,
Yeah, go for it. I'm gonna get to the page because I have no idea what we're talking about next.
so we've been talking about revamping in the new year.
Oh my
so we
gosh,
got
yeah.
2 more episodes that we're going to do that will really set the setting of 40K that are kind of,
yeah, they don't
not-
really exist in the timeline, but they're general information.
yeah. And so we're going to do 2 minor Xenos episodes. So if you want to know all about Crude or Demiurge or the whatever, the
The Vespids.
it's funny that we're just naming Tau.
Yeah, that's.
But
But
like
like the Hrud. You want to
Hrud.
learn
Yeah,
about
like
the
if you want to know
Hrud?
about Hrud, they're sweet. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna do 2 episodes about all these minor Xenos because a lot of time there's battles or whatever between different factions that fight these minor Xenos, and you're like, oh, what's a Hrud? So we're gonna let you
Yeah.
know. And then after that, we're gonna start doing our whatever we want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, we're getting into the final bit before we can start taking off pieces of the pie.
Yeah. If you guys are interested in us doing video of our podcast and posting it on YouTube, let us know. We were thinking about it, but if no one's really interested in it,
it's not going to be worth our time.
Yeah. So let us know if you guys want to see video of us sitting and Eric touching people inappropriately and occasionally hailing Hitler. I think he did at one point. Let us know.
That ain't me, yo. As always, we're on Facebook at Lorehammer. You can send us an email, lorehammerpodcast@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter. Every once in a while, I like photos, especially if they're of models.
Or cats. Models or cats.
What kind of models?
That's what I was waiting for. Warhammer models. Mark didn't even question. He's like, obviously Warhammer models.
There's only one type. I don't get it. What's the other one?
Are supermodels just like really big Warhammer models?
Yeah, like Raboot Gilliman's a supermodel.
Yeah. As well, we still have our contest going on.
So you got two till the end.
January 1st is our very last day.
Yeah.
So if you need anything about that, let us know. Other than that, I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks here. Coming up on Christmas. That's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Sayonara, guys.
I'm Mark, and I really like Games Workshop.
Peace out.
I won't see you guys next time.
Really? You're not going to be with us?
No, it's my last episode.
Oh.
Yeah, we're killing him after this.
I thought that was a joke.
No.